jaws of darkness to devour it up. So quick, bright things come to confusion.
In our final Oscar month episode, we're talking about Sing Sing, a fascinating collaborative film about the power of theater and art to rehabilitate, which blends real former inmates playing themselves with performances by Colman Domingo and Paul Raci, dramatizing real characters.
I mean, like, every day we dealing with trauma, drama. Every day we got tragedy. I mean, I think population just might appreciate a comedy.
At Sing Sing Correctional Facility, a maximum security prison in Ossining, New York, which was once known for being the terrifying, bleak prison that the state of New York's execution chamber, a group of prison inmates are participating in and helping run the Rehabilitation Through the Arts program. Although it's not in the film, Rehabilitation Through the Arts was started in 1996 when a group of inmates at Sing Sing wanted help writing and putting on a play. The founder of the program, Catherine Vawkins, is not exactly a character in the movie, but she and her fellow RTA board members make a cameo in a scene where, to get new stage curtains, the inmates must pitch what they've been working on, and they pitch a very silly battle scene while the board members sit there in stony silence.
Thank you.
As well as the real supervisor of the prison, Michael Capra, who plays himself. By now in 2025, RTA is spread to 10 prisons in the New York City area as far north as Fishkill, where they filmed a lot of the interior scenes in Sing Sing. And they've expanded past theater to doing writers' workshops, visual arts, and music. The movie Sing Sing mainly takes place 20 years ago, in 2005, where it's already an established program. Inmates at Sing Sing put on plays, sometimes ones they write, sometimes ones written by the playwright Brett Buell, who was a co-producer on the movie and is played by Paul Raci, and sometimes things like Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream.
You know what it won't be.
No more Shakespeare.
I like Shakespeare.
We do West Side Story. Not back to back.
Sacrifice.
Wizard of Oz.
August Wilson's good.
Why don't we do one of Devon G's plays?
One of the things I found particularly striking about Sing Sing is that it doesn't seek to show some program where a talented instructor shows inmates their true potential. It's largely run and managed by the inmates themselves, particularly Divine G, played by Colman Domingo, and his best friend, Mike. They bring in new cast members and interview them. Divine G often writes the plays, and the decision-making process is very democratic. And it's a serious program. The guys participating in it are there because they're passionate and want to put on good theater performances for their fellow inmates.
I've been trying to catch you in the yard, man. It's been kind of hard, you know. And basically, I wanted to know, would you mind signing, this book, man?
Oh, man.
The real John Divine G. Whitfield is in the movie, asking Colman Domingo's Divine G for an autograph. His story is tragic and infuriating, and lends itself to Colman Domingo's great performance. Divine G wanted to be an actor and went through the Manhattan Alternative Public High School, the High School of Performing Arts, right before it closed down and merged with a different public high school. But in 1988, during the Tough on Crime era, he was accused of a murder that he was eventually able to prove he didn't commit, just because it happened outside of his building, when a drug deal went wrong and a guy ended up getting shot. He spent almost 25 years in prison, many of them with the evidence of his innocence not taken seriously by the parole board. Despite finding evidence, including audio recordings that show he's innocent of murder, he still has a homicide charge on his record, even as he's paroled, and he hopes that Sing Sing's success will help open the case again and overturn his conviction.
It's been next to impossible for us to authenticate the validity. The person who made it is deceased, and we can't get the DA's office to return our calls.
I don't know how.
You understand that this creates a complicated legal issue.
Divine G helped write the story and screenplay for the movie. He's written countless plays and 13 novels, along with his fellow former inmate, Clarence Divine Eye Maclin, who does also star as himself. A brilliant but sometimes difficult and antagonistic guy in prison for dealing drugs, who's having a harder time shaking off the criminal prisoner mentality.
You don't get to fucking tell me what I need in prison. You don't get to do that. Nobody do. Nobody take care of me. Nobody do nothing for me or mine. So don't tell me what to do, and don't bring me in no fucking dark corners no more.
Their friendship, at least in the film, comes slowly and can be extremely tense. Apart from Colman Domingo as Divine G and his best friend Mike, played by Sean San Jose, Sean San Jose is Colman Domingo's best friend. They've been collaborating for 30 years, and he works at Edith Productions, the Domingo's production company. But the real Mike passed away inside of Sing Sing without getting his freedom. The rest of the inmates are playing themselves and are former members of RTA. David Giraudy, Patrick Griffin, Mosi Eagle, James Williams, Sean Johnson, Dario Peña, Miguel Valentin, JJ Velazquez, Pedro Cotto, Camillo Lovacco, and Cornell Alston.
And then you sort of like break it down, you know, like how you would eat an elephant. You would swallow that thing whole, right? You would just take every little bite, and then it all makes more sense. I think I learned some of that in the law library, you know what I mean? Some of these cases are so in-depth, you know, especially like preparing for my clemency hearing. I mean, I gotta like break it all down.
The movie was co-produced by Colman Domingo, Clint Bentley, and the film's director, Kwedar. Bentley and Kwedar co-wrote it with Divine G and Divine I. Colman Domingo is incredible as Divine G, and his performance is both powerful and sad.
You tell us to trust the fucking process, right? Well, the process is fucked.
I think we need more than 5, Brent, for him to learn his fucking lines.
After a decade in RTA, this was a rough patch, not just because of frustrating parole hearings, but because a program Divine G helped to co-found is growing and he has trouble giving up control, as well as losing his best friend Mike to a brain aneurysm, which sets off a bad spiral. And it's understandable. In prison, theater is all these guys have, so of course that's what's going to suffer from Divine G's emotional turmoil. When Clarence Maclin, who I can't stop myself from reminding everyone, is playing himself, enters the program, it adds a slightly antagonistic and tense force to the mix. Anybody who's been part of a creative collaboration, I think, that's used to feeling like a leader of the collaboration, and suddenly has to deal with someone else with ideas and a different vision, should be able to relate to that. It's a testament to these two men, Divine G and Divine I. They're able to take a situation like that and bond through it.
Sure did.
Now we're doing a comedy.
And I'm excited.
And yet you're auditioning for the only dramatic role in the whole play.
Comedy is very difficult, man. I don't want to get up on that stage and get yelled off the stage, bro. Hey, look at my boys right here.
But it also shows that prison can be a very intricately crafted world by someone who's desperately trying to get through it. Sing Sing handles that without judgment. Since the Sing Sing prison is still very much in use, the exterior shots were taken outside of the actual prison, but the interior shots were in the now shuttered Downstate Correctional Facility, which closed in 2022. Downstate Correctional Facility was a maximum security prison opened in 1979 to handle the overflow of prisoners from New York City and Fishkill, New York, a couple miles from my dentist's office. Other shots for the prison scenes were taken at Beacon High School across the river. Insert a joke about the school-to-prison pipeline. Hudson Valley Film Commission, my local film commission, which helps with film and TV shoots in the Mid-Hudson region between Westchester County up to the capital, including acting as a networking hub, helping producers qualify for the state and local tax incentives and location scouting, helped to produce Sing Sing, finding the abandoned prison as a location, hiring mostly local crew members and background actors from around Dutchess and Orange counties, both to save money and to shake things up on set. Kwedar and Bentley chose to pay everyone from the PAs to the stars to themselves an equal living wage. They decided to do this through offering equity, a certain point percentage on the film in shares. It would save money on the highest paid stars and talent, usually the biggest expense on an indie film, who would have to take a pay cut, but the crew, production team, post-production team, and most of the actors would receive more. They first did this on their first film, Jockey, in 2021, offering 30 people shares on a movie that made $120,000. Sing Sing, on the other hand, is a $2 million film that made $5.8 million at the box office and had 80 shares. But even before that, since A24 bought distribution rights, they were able to pay money on all the shares. Kwedar and Bentley have decided to launch a company, Ethos, that will seek to do this on more films. They're not the only ones exploring the equity option. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon recently launched Artist Equity, nothing so radical as paying everyone the same, but attempting to get more people in production paid equity shares. Sing Sing was also the first movie to ever be opened simultaneously at both movie theaters and prisons. Sing Sing got snubbed for Best Picture. Unfortunately, it deserved a nomination, but is up for Best Actor for Colman Domingo, Best Original Song, and Best Adapted Screenplay.
It's like Hamlet. All he wants is Maid Marian, and he'll go against the whole Greek army. But to what end?
What? Oh, shit, I'm sorry. I keep forgetting how different this version of Hamlet is.
Before I introduce the panel, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Then hit that bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. Super chats are now open. If you have any pressing questions, send us a super chat which helps me maintain the expenses for the show, in which I am obligated by the rules of the Geneva Convention to stop everything and ask the panel. Another way to help us out is to become a patron and give us money every month. In exchange, you get access to all of our after parties, bonus content, and we'll tell you even more movies we watched recently. Patreon.com/movie night extra. We have a Movie Night Extravaganza Discord. There's an invite link in the episode description, and we have a Letterboxd HQ account. So those are 2 more places to follow along with us. Okay, let me introduce the illustrious panel. Conan Neutron is the host of Protonic Reversal, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, and the frontman for the band Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. You can check out his music and hopefully buy some at neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. Kristina Oakes is a co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza and a Twitch streamer. You can find her streaming at twitch.tv/cosmopolitics. All of her social media accounts are also at Cosmopolitics. She's on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky, and even occasionally on Letterboxd. McKenzie Wilkes is the co-host of Criterion Connection and the Austin Danger Pod, as well as the host of Odd Lynch, a David Lynch podcast. She's on Letterboxd at McKenzie Wilkes. I, of course, am your host, Forrest Miller, an even different kind of Hamlet that you've never even heard of before. I did not know that this movie was all shot in Fishkill and Beacon with an all-local crew, and now I'm even more impressed. Free Divine G.
All right. Thought that was Dakota Johnson for a second. McKenzie, welcome to the show.
Hello. I know. I'm like, wow, I haven't had bangs, long hair in quite some time. I need a new headshot.
I always grab the most headshot-looking picture, I feel like, for whoever the guest is.
Exactly. It's great to have you back.
Yes, thank you for asking.
Yeah, we fit you in on the Oscar month, and it's for what I can only assume is going to be the best episode because it's the best movie. Not to put my thumb on the scale too hard, but
whoa.
The fact it didn't get that picture is like, I don't know.
Travesty.
Yeah.
It's
like even like a nomination. They're like it really does feel like they're like, oh, only one movie that the main characters are black. Like they can go on the list at a time.
Like,
it's like oof. Nickel Boys, and then they're like, yeah, we can't.
We got one for him. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like what they do with like the populist pick or whatever. They're like, yeah, nerds are good. We got one movie that we got Dune 2. It's on there.
Yeah, I saw something very, very depressing. You know, like how a lot of the anonymous ballots are coming out from members of the Academy. We don't know their names, unfortunately. One voted for Adrian Brody because according to this person, Adrian Brody's never won an Oscar, but Ray Fiennes has. And I'm like, no, Ray Fiennes never won. They think Schindler's List probably, but Adrian Brody did win for playing a Holocaust survivor, which he's nominated for again.
Where he force kissed Halle
Berry.
Halle Berry, yeah. Who can forget? I did actually.
Yeah,
I was reminded of it, but I was
and then SNL was like, we're for Timothée, so we're gonna slip that problematic clip of him from when he hosted where he did the brown face and talked like he was Jamaican when Sean Paul performed. So that was good.
It was like, he had dreads. I don't know. Was it brown face? I saw
yes. He had a very dark tan too, and I was like, what?
When's the last time you saw True Romance? I mean, Gary Oldman.
I mean, Ariana Grande's up there. She's basically.
She scrubbed most of her self-tanner off, so she's Asian now.
Anyway, whatever. We all got agreed that the best Oppo research drop / campaign is got to be the actual Pope in Dying Health. As we unfortunately predicted on the last episode.
Really? Oh my god!
We have a record of this, and I'm not proud of it.
So we were like, the Pope's probably gonna die, and then it's like he's in critical condition from like asthma stuff, and I'm like, oh, whoopsies! Our body count cannot be unmatched. I'm just saying.
We got the Queen. Gilbert Gottfried. I know that's a weird jump. But.
Gosh, I was in Catholic high school when he was elected, and I remember it was like school just wasn't happening because we all had to watch TV and see if the smoke would be whatever color it needed to be.
Well, it was a big deal because it was like like when have like who even remembers the last time there was like a live pope and then a retired pope at the same time, and it's like because it was Nazi pope, but like still like what like. They literally the guy had so many scales they had to like bring in a ringer.
Yeah.
Anyway, this movie is none of those things, and it's great and it's beautiful and
underrated. A24 screwed the pooch on this one.
Yeah,
they bought distribution.
Yeah.
The movie was already completed, the production was done, so their one job was distribution, and they fucked it up, which is crazy.
and they chose to not, distribute it.
And they spent a bunch of money on it. Like they spent a bunch of money. Like they keep saying like, oh, it wasn't like a record-breaking amount of money, which means it was a lot of money. They paid a lot of money for distribution rights for a movie that they then didn't distribute.
Yeah.
Yeah, they prioritized The Brutalist. It was like as soon as they saw The Brutalist, it was that Andy and Toy Story, I don't want to play with you anymore to Sing. And
we're gonna do the epic Holocaust movie because Oscar bait.
Yeah.
Although, so at the same time that came out into theaters, Sing Sing, right? They had it opening up in 1,000 prisons across the world. And maybe they spent the money to get it into the prisons. And they're like, this is our version of the Oscars. Because it's the first time they've ever had a simultaneous release of a movie into prisons and into movie theaters.
Yeah.
Well, I think that it's something where if you would have let people see this movie, like regular human beings that don't have to pay a $25 rental fee, which has only just recently become available, people love it. But they're not going to see it. They literally just would not allow it to be in theaters, which is crazy. I mean, remember we talked about Past Lives and like how much they kind of didn't do well with that. But like, I mean, good. Yeah. Wow. I mean, it was like everything everywhere all was once compared to this,
Like, look, all you have to do is do a crime and then you can see it.
That was the philosophy behind why they just released it. Mostly prisons.
People break out of prison all the time. You can't break into prison just to see a movie. Like I don't.
I mean, that's why I'm ready. I mean, this movie Sing Sing, it reminded me of the end of The Producers, Prisoners of Love, like when they're doing that musical, and it's like,
they're literally in Sing Sing.
We're in Sing Sing for that, yeah.
Exactly.
Yep, they got a Sing Sing, and it's funny too because it's like, oh, they get out because they brought all the criminals, the prisoners, into loving musical theater, and that got them like cut off on their sentences. And I'm like, and so when I was watching Sing Sing, I'm like, I've seen this before.
I like Sing Sing when The Producers came out and when the 60s, like that was the scary prison, that was the bad prison, that was the prison where that's where the electric chair was. So like for a very, very long time, if you were referencing Sing Sing, what you were thinking of in that thing is number one, horrible prison abuse scandals where prisoners would get beaten to death by guards, which I'm so happy that doesn't happen in New York State anymore, and they're not all. So there was that, and then there's the fact that that's where the electric chair was. Anybody in New York State that like, especially in New York City, that committed like horrific murders or something, that's where they would go get electrocuted. And so like I think Sing Sing is I mean, I'm not saying the reputation is better now or anything like that, but like the guy that actually runs it now, that's actually in this, he's the guy that comes out and goes, well, I don't know what you guys did, but they loved it. That guy is actually the supervisor of the prison now, and he's actually rode the like the whole rehabilitation thing kind of hard, which I would too if I was supervisor of Sing Sing.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting? When I went to college, part of my social science psychology major was taking classes about criminal justice reform and case management, because we also talked about a lot of people doing their rotations in prisons, in jails, and trying to figure out what the like how the system doesn't really help them when they get out. Clearly, like that's an issue, but it's good to know that nowadays there is more folks who are willing to help these prisoners and start like these theater programs, music programs involving like pets and animals as well. We're seeing more of that now, and it's really good because it's changing.
It is.
Huh?
It's a tiny little drop in the bucket, he said, and I agree. But also, here's the problem I have. So first of all, hard to agree with all that. It's great. I completely agree with all of it. And there's the case for watching this movie based on everything you just said.
Yeah.
And I agree with the rehabilitation within prison, that it's like an important movie, et cetera, et cetera. This is just a good movie, too. Like a deeply entertaining, effective movie that may actually be the strongest case for acting as an art form I have ever seen. And to not let people see it, especially when A24 totally bungled this. Supposedly HBO Max, I'm sorry, just Max, the one to watch, was the one that the exclusive A24 distributor. I'm like, well, cool. When will that happen? Ever? Yeah. Still hasn't happened. All you have to do is let people see it.
People to have streaming too. Like that's still like not the biggest streamer. You know what I mean? Like they're just slowly kind of pushing it into the world.
So it blows my mind that I get it. You're putting all your chips on the Brutalist, but like, do you have to like literally lock up the film? Ironically, I mean, I don't.
Too soon, Conan. Too soon.
I don't get it. I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me.
It feels like it had like 5 different limited releases. And I was curious and I went back to my diary. I saw this August 3rd of last year. So I randomly was like able to see it really early because it was playing in a single theater in Chicago. And then nobody else could see it for like 8 more months. It's very weird.
It's been here pretty much nonstop, I guess, but they didn't like advertise it. Like I wouldn't have known except for looking at it now. But like because they filmed it, like in the Mid-Hudson Valley or whatever, they've been taking it around to places, but they still didn't do a very good. Like I'm in the Hudson Valley. Film
You're the area was filmed, and you still had to hunt around for it.
I'm in their group. I'm in their networking group, and I still didn't.
Even better.
I never see their.
And you found out about it from me.
Yeah, like, but they've been like the Hudson Valley Film Commission Instagram and stuff now is all we have a movie that is up for 3 Oscars that we filmed here, and like
could have been more if you'd let anyone see it. But
yeah. Someone asked what Forrest's background is. It's a beautiful photo of Colman Domingo.
Colman Domingo.
Yeah,
and
I always pick somebody's face. Like I like looking like somebody's behind me.
And he looks like he's crying too, because it's that one moment. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, the best was Nosferatu. I thought that was like the.
Yeah. I mean, I got Nosferatu back here behind, That's
what I was gonna say. Nosferatu with you always, just like the other guy.
I want to be on your stream. Turn to laptop.
Turn on your webcam. but Colman Domingo, I've been like waiting for him to have a role like this for a long time, because every time I see him, I'm like, God damn, that guy is good. Like he's just like, sometimes you see someone, you're like, that is a good thespian. That is a good.
And they shut this movie out, and yet this is probably like the performance that could make him become more mainstream. Because I've seen him in Euphoria. He was he was nominated for an Oscar last year. Like, he's having a moment. He's gonna start directing. He's gonna, star in more movies after this. But it felt like
he's doing the one with that's gonna be about Sammy Davis Jr. and
Kim Novak.
And Kim Novak, right? Yeah, I'm in. Great.
Yes.
Speaking my language.
His husband and the guy that played Sean San Jose that played his best friend for like 30 years. He said that he hired to be like to hang out with or whatever. But hired for this also, but like he actually has a company now. He has a production company because he wants to start producing more things. And his husband and his and his best friend are his employees, and those are his only 2 employees. So you go on their website, it's like it has the 3 of their bios or whatever. Like we're Forrest,
and you posted the thing of just like him and Kieran Culkin, like I don't know if they're just hanging out or what, if it's for a show or something. But it was it's just like. It's like, Jesus Christ, just cast this buddy comedy already. Come on. It's like, this is great.
There's that one comment where he's like, do you get a suntan? He's like, I'm black. And he like looked at him.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't know what to say back to
it. But McKenzie, you see a lot of movies. You were pretty blown away by this, right? I mean, like it's kind of, this is out of nowhere to a certain degree for me. So I can imagine you had a similar-ish response.
Yeah, it was on my radar because I love theater and I love Shakespeare, and I went to school for theater, and being in and watching Shakespeare was really life-changing for me. Like the role that I think about the most that I played was Brutus and Julius Caesar, and it was a really healing. It was a really like healing process for me in college during a time I really needed something to ground me and bring me back to my life, and Brutus did that. And I associate a lot of really warm feelings with Shakespeare and performing it. And I got heard about this because it premiered at like festivals in late 2023, and it seemed like it was going to be this kind of 2024 thing. So I was like aware of it, ready for it. And then as soon as I could find a single theater, it was like a landmark downtown I went to, and that was
I'd go to the burbs.
Yeah, and I was like, well, we're going here, and it was really wonderful. It was honestly a packed house because other people probably also were like, this is our chance to see it, and it was just like a really lovely, like warm room to watch it in. I think I wrote it in my original review. The reveal of Clarence Maclin's thin piece of paper, that we get set up earlier in the film of like, if it's a brick, you're here. If it's thin as, light as a feather, you're out of here. The reveal of that the whole audience like gasped together. And I remember feeling like that was such an incredible like communal movie theater moment that I hadn't had in a long time, and it made for a really wonderful experience. Sing. So yeah, I loved it. Like it hits all those notes that I feel close to in terms of I make theater. I still work in theatrical spaces. I do marketing for the arts, and so it's close to my heart. And it just hits all those kind of notes of like art and theater making is a healing, freeing, liberating process that can change lives. And that's why I think those who would underfund it are scared of the power that art has.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also,
it would have killed so hard to see in a packed theater. I did not. My theater was not packed, but I was. Again, I was in not even a suburb of Milwaukee, like an exurb, where it was like basically Trump country. I was like, why is this playing here? And like it was like me and another guy, and like me and that other guy were having a moment. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like between. Still it was under, the Biden administration. I feel like, releasing, that when he's, the crime bill guy, would have been a little interesting had it reached more audiences.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much people think about that kind of stuff, but I think about a lot, like, it's very, there's a lot of people that don't see prisoners. All right, they might see prisoners that they personally know, that they've had some kind of, we have the largest prison population in the world. So
of course you do.
Most people know at least somebody that's been in jail for a period of time. And I think people are very able to, at times at least, empathize with somebody they know, but they've had interactions with. But I think that it's very hard for a lot of people to view prisoners at all as human beings. Like, to think about them, to not think that they deserve to be in there, to think that they deserve a better life at the end of it. And if they don't know them at all, right? And this movie is very humanistic. And, like, the art itself, I mean, like, the art's amazing, but also the art at the center of it is real human emotion, real empathy that you have to have for other people. And I think a lot of people have a hard time with that. Like, I don't, I mean, especially when it's like the state is telling you it's okay not to, I mean, maybe it's not like, blatant, but like the state's telling you, oh, you don't have to think about these people at all. These are, these are scum. These are prisoners. These are people that use the underclass of society.
And especially guys. Especially that's especially a male thing.
And with the Palisade fires, shout out to Hassan Piker for going out there to interview the prisoners who were out there. They had to volunteer to help put out the fires and work, and he was interviewing them, and it got a lot of coverage because it was the first time a lot of people were like, oh my goodness, these prisoners are human beings. They are doing work to help save lives. They are doing what they can to obviously get out of prison, but they're like, this is like a good, like a future, like career opportunity. When I was doing that debate panel last week, one of the people on was describing that firefighter program, and they do get like some type of income from it. They do like, it's going to be like a future.
You get like $5.
It is some kind of income. You are correct about that. But
like stuff. But like in the future, like they can definitely be applied because they got the training to be firefighters and whatnot. It's not like some big like socialist government handout type situation.
So yes, but no, they can apply, but there's not a very high likelihood, despite the fact that California really does need firefighters. There's not a very high likelihood, because I've been following those stories, like, pretty, like, whenever it happens, I get reminded, like, oh yeah, like, California,
the prisoners are doing the work.
1/3 of their entire firefighting force are incarcerated people, and it's and so they get out of prison, and those are like the good prison, like that's a program that's supposed to be a reward for good behavior, essentially. Like you get to leave the prison, and leaving the prison means like there's a pretty high likelihood you're like gonna burn to death. So like, it's
just for the heck of it, I threw up my favorite site is CaliforniaOnFire.com, and the answer is yes. By the way. So that tells you.
Is that like, does the dog die in the movie type of?
Yeah, I mean, but this is actually before that site, if you can believe it. That's how long.
Oh,
it's been
I mean, it does kind of look a little
coded
dated.
in actually HTML.
But yeah, but I feel like with this movie and with what's been going on, where people are realizing, oh, there are prisoners who have to do like volunteer work. Doing, putting out fires, doing like other types of little programs here and there, doing this, doing that. And with this movie, with Sing Sing, it really goes to show that maybe society might slowly realize that, oh, it's okay to humanize these people.
Well, and that's why it's an important movie. So it's not why it's a good movie, but it's why it's an important movie, right? Because you have the whole thing where you have Clarence Macklin's character that's whether like anger's easy. Try something else. And when they talk about those kinds of things, this is like finding the emotionality of the art and like how that can be used to express rage and very justified rage, as we all can imagine, but like put towards in a productive way. And that's why those programs are so important. But one of the reasons why it works so well as a movie is narratively, you get to see like the journey of like, this is, the hardest of the no joke hard men who just happened to have a book fall off a cart and like read a passage and thought it was badass, and like then you have this incredible journey of transformation that comes on, and then I'd spoiler alert, I don't know why anyone would like watch or listen to a podcast about a movie they haven't seen, but it's so Shakespearean to have Colman Domingo's character not get his clemency, but have Clarence Macklin's character get it. But it makes so much sense if you stop and think about it. And then you get to see the roles reversed, right? You get to see that you get to see the guy that was like the rage-filled dude earlier on is the calming influence, and you get to see Divine G like out of control and just like consumed by his emotion and his anger. And god damn, is it a great acting like masterclass? It's just so good. Like it's so like if you can watch that and be like, whatever, I was bored. Like I don't know, maybe you were like looking at your phone or something, because that's not the movie I saw.
So there's one guy I wanted to shout out that's in the, because there's a bunch of different the prisoner like the inmates are all really amazing actors, but one in particular on top. Clarence Maclin obviously, but there's a scene between this guy Sean Dino Johnson is his name, and he's the bigger guy that's that gives him the speech where he's like, right, I used to be like you, I used to have that rage, and I thought it was just normal, and there's acts of horrific violence, and now this has pretty much changed me. That speech, which already is like a mind-blowing amount of intensity for those two actors, like you forget when you're watching it until you like really think about it. Like those are two former inmates that learned how to act from this prison program, like really just absolutely crushing that performance. And there's so much intensity and it's so raw, and you can tell it's from a place of truth. But like, I don't know, like that performance is just mind blowing. That guy, I guess, his son is now an actor at Yale or something, and it's funny to see the two of them together because he's like, the son is extremely preppy looking and like he has like this thing, and then the dad is still kind of in his not prison fatigues or whatever, but like just kind of still kind of dressed like that. Yeah. And he's like, I studied in the Yale Dramatic Arts School, and he's like, I studied at Sing Sing.
Hard Knocks University.
Yeah. Well, and that's better for your son.
I forgot first time going in, and because that's the only pitch I saw for this was like, oh yeah, it's vast majority of the people in are not actors, right? And it's like it's like, oh okay, cool. And by the time I actually got to see the damn thing, I'd forgotten all about that. So at the end, I was like, oh whoa, those are like real dudes. Like whoa, that's crazy. And so that makes Clarence Macklin's performance as Divine Eye all the more impressive. That is not a trained actor, and he should have been nominated. I'm sorry. Like he should have been nominated for an Oscar, and it's sad that he isn't. I hope he like ends up like having like a great career, and this is like the beginning of her career, because he's a badass. Yeah. And it's all more than impressive,
I'm sure some people think like, oh, is he not actually acting? But then you see him in interviews and he's very different than he is in the film, and he's clearly accessing a person he once was, and like he's acting out things he experienced, but he seems like totally different now, and so it is a performance. I think maybe voters just don't see that. I don't know, or they just assume. Yeah.
Or maybe they just didn't see and they assumed they knew what it was, which happens all the time.
I like his tux. He has those tux that he's been wearing around to all the events, and he's like this really fancy tux. It's like,
and I think too, and I think you guys might agree as well, is like, a lot of these prisoners have like no acting experience, like, no professional acting experience. I'm like, well, one of the key elements to putting on a good performance is channeling anger, channeling something to really evocate and just bring out a really natural performance. And I think that's what's shocking to a lot of these people. They're like, oh my God, these are not professional actors. These are just prisoners, and they're acting so well. And it's a really good ensemble cast that you forget that most of these, like extras or their characters are real prisoners, and they're doing a hell of a job.
They're the people from the program.
So they have some type of training.
It calls up question, like, what is, like why don't we consider that to be a professional acting experience?
Yeah.
Because like that's not like it's not a little thing. Like I was,
But
I
if
was
Austin
really-
Butler goes, oh, and then he
Yeah.
gets stuck in it for 9 months, that's acting. Okay, sure.
Thank God Timothy
They can,
Chalamet did not get that.
Gets
They
stuck in
can
it.
like there's been so many stupid method actors I feel like that have gone into like a jail, but like the nice part of the jail for like a week. They're like, oh, Sean Penn is here, talking to inmates to like, but yeah, like what, like there's an intensity to this, and I like that. Number one, I think, and I said this in the intro, but I like the fact that it's not like a white savior story, which it's not because it's not in real life too, but like it's they're like the people that are there to help them are there to help them, right? Like, oh, you guys need somebody to write the script, but you could write the script yourself, but like, all right, if I'll write a comedy and it'll be the weirdest
the weirdest pastiche of and ideas I've ever heard in my entire life. And the whole time you're watching this, at least the first time, you're like, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, it does. But like,
and then Freddy Krueger can jump out. It's like, what are you talking about? Like someone
the
should say no.
disappointment on Colman Domingo's face, and I'm sure the real Divine G's face, because this is a real play that the real guy that he's playing wrote.
They show in the credits.
Yeah, and so like the disappointment on his face just grows and grows and grows as he's like, and then there's a mummy, and then there's gladiators, and then Hamlet gets to say a soliloquy, but it's not even the real Hamlet soliloquy. It's like adding other parts to it, and it reminds me of how was it? In 30 Rock, they had a joke or whatever. They're like, it was like a joke that's kind of like Pride and Prejudice and Zombies or whatever. They're like, so they do like the whole like Shakespeare soliloquy, and then they add that like piece at the end or whatever. They're like, die, zombie, die, or something like that.
Putting a little like they how they say like too many cooks spoil the meal, whatever. I'm like, not in this case. Like they're going going everywhere.
Which this is the exception that should prove the rule, to be clear. But but also like I feel. I was never a theater kid. I took like 1 year of drama, and I know you were. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me. It was that would be the least surprising thing anyone could learn in this show. Kristina was a theater. Really, Kristina Oakes. You're talking about? Yeah, of course we do.
What roles did I ever get?
But that said, that I did get a lot out of it, and I enjoyed it. And the drama teacher even was like, I can't, like, why didn't you come to me sooner? I'm mad at you. I'm like, okay, well. Fine, but I don't know that culture so well, and I feel like there's a lot of theater kid culture for sure, and this is one that you could put in the pro camp, I think, up to and including like you have Divine Eye that like looks like is he gonna wreck everything? Like is he just gonna be like in this just to destroy all of it? And then you're like, oh no, it comes along, and again, all of these disparate ideas and genre, Pride and Prejudice and zombies ideas like come together, and it all somehow manages to work. And there's such heart to it, and that's what I love about it. And Mackenzie, I know I listen to your shows, and I've heard your thoughts on theater productions and things along those lines. I mean, how do you feel about that part of the process in this?
I mean, I find it really endearing because like when they start doing the like warm-ups, walk around the room like you're a zombie, things like that. Like those are things I did at the Globe. I studied abroad for a couple weeks, and we got to do like a class there. And I'm like, these prisoners are doing the same things I paid money to a university to do for 4 years. So they're and that does, I think that like there's an honesty there that like they're doing the exact same training and the exact amount of commitment that anybody else does. And I think that like that process and showing the passion behind it is really endearing, and I love watching the growth. I mean, obviously we see the growth the most with Clarence Maclin, I think, and like by the time we see his To Be or Not to Be in full, I think it is phenomenal. It is like genuinely, I have watched too many Hamlets recently. My wife and I do a Shakespeare play every Friday, and we've watched a lot of Hamlets in the last couple months. And this is my favorite take on To Be or Not to Be. I've never seen an actor be able to play all the different shifts and the different choices in that monologue as well as Clarence Maclin does. And I love that you watch that unease grow into what I think is a genuinely incredible performance. And all you see is that monologue for like 60 seconds, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
Can I just say real quick? I'm actually a huge fan of the movie Hamlet 2.
Oh, yes.
which is starring Steve Coogan and Elizabeth Shue, and it's amazing.
Rock me, sexy Jesus. Yeah.
2, the number 2, Many Hamlets would have been a good alternate title.
Yeah.
I know you meant
Many Hamlets.
the other kind, but yeah, Too Many Hamlets.
Too Hamlet, Too Furious.
But
Wait, I just want to say to the guy that the reason I think part of the reason that they're so that they know the exercises like to that level, right? Like the process of it is very captured. The actual Brent Buell guy, the guy that wrote the plays, he's an acting instructor, and he was an acting instructor, I guess, for a very long time in Socrates up past Kingston or whatever. And I think that he wasn't doing that well, and it seems like co-producing this movie is, really it's lifted him quite a bit too, because
that's good.
His bio, because I was looking at his stuff because I was curious, and his bio and everything is now like co-producer of Sing Sing, and it's like the other stuff is like farther down on it, so it's like I think there's like kind of but yeah, but he seems like he's one of those like hippie-ish kind of looking guys that like give random theater classes, and it's like he looks like he's good at it, but like I don't know, I think that they very much know that world, because it's like this is almost like a intense boot camp, but like for years and years and years, because when we get thrown into it, it's a decade long, and Divine G was part of the original founding class of this, like the same way that something like like the Groundlings has like a founding class, like there's a group of prisoners, you can see so they're in this for a long time, and so he had an entire decade of experience doing this when we get thrown into the movie, and it's like every day that's what they do. Like some people get are part of like a sports thing or something, some people have like other things they do in prison, but like this is their daily, they're thrown into it, and it's like you have to be so good at acting by the end of that, I have to imagine.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, like with Conan's story, like taking that drama class one time, it's like there's some teachers who are like to like students who don't seem like interested in acting, yet they're terrific, and there's been so many times where a lot of people who are now famous actors are like, I took like one drama class and then one like monologue, and all of a sudden my teacher's like, oh my god, you gotta like go into acting or something like that. Like, no,
you're right, that's a very real thing, and like whatever, maybe my life would be very different now.
Conan Neutron, the actor?
I know, right? Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that would have been an interesting name for an actor, by the way. But
Conan Neutron, the actor, and Conan O'Brien, the musician.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like not Tale Two Cities, Prince and the Pauper, right?
Well, also too, one of the things I remember we did a production of Cats, because of course, and they were like, and I suggested, because this is something that I took from like when they would do the Broadway show. I'm like, can we bring like actual cats from like the SPCA so that we can learn how to move like them properly? And the teacher was like, yeah, that's a good idea. And I'm like, we could do a bit of like an adoption fair on top of that too. So
did any of the cat show butthole? The audience wants to know.
Yes.
But like when I said this guy is, he seems like a character. Headshots he puts online.
It looks like he's in Lord of the Rings and the hair. What's going on?
Yeah. Is he gonna be cast as Lucius Malfoy in the new Harry Potter show, or like?
No, he's dressed like one of those magicians in Vegas. Like the ones that go on like weekends or whatever. It's like, wow, he seems to. I'll book you for my kid's birthday. You have a lot of it. Looks like he's intense.
It's an illusionist.
Please don't make my son's friends disappear.
From the comments, is this a dude's rock movie?
I mean, I'd say yes.
Yeah,
not a bad way.
Rock movie this year.
There's a lot of men. There's a lot of different man, better man, monkey man. Like
Oscar So White is back, y'all.
Better Man. No, that's not a movie though.
Did you just say Better Man?
Better Man.
But I would say it's a dude's rock movie in like not a bad way, right? Like because it is. There's these men are dealing with emotionality of this impossible situation.
Well, I think that. Yeah, there's a long I mean, because I've seen this with creative temperaments, right? Like people will butt heads, and a lot of people like outside, like that aren't in prison, right? That maybe believe that they have a level of emotional control that maybe these prisoners don't necessarily have the confidence that they do. I mean, maybe by the end of it, like Divine D or something like that, but like they butt heads, but they manage to salvage it. I think a lot of people don't. It's
like being in a band.
a lot of people just build up that resentment, and the resentment's just there forever, right? Like, and it doesn't seem like they have any resentment. I mean, nor should they. But like the friendship they build is something real, and it's something tangible more than I think a lot of people. I mean, you really have to make friends or enemies with people if you're that, if you're stuck with them that much in like a prison situation.
Well, what else is there to do?
Yeah,
I mean, like you're
I think it gets real hard if you're butting heads with somebody like that, especially because at least in the beginning, like the Clarence Maclin is like such a torrent of like he's trying. You could tell he's trying a lot of the time, but you could also tell that he's one of those people that feels afraid to try, right? Like he's afraid to fully put himself in there and be vulnerable in that same way. And it's like he starts to lean into it, and then he pulls back, and it's like everybody's trying to bring him in, but he's pulling back. And then, of course, once Divine G goes off the reservation or whatever, then
he has to rise to the occasion. But I think so. I think it's a key moment of growth for him. In that like when he's reading the lines and he's doing it kind of just like pensively and like nothingly, right? And then he's like, come in like you own the room, like he's like he gets kind of built up, and then you see him kind of finding it, and then from then on, like, all right, there's something there, right? But he still is. Like he takes off suddenly when he starts talking about, I could do your paperwork for you too. Yeah, I gotta go. Okay, bye. Just like doesn't even want to think about that side of things, and it's such a nuanced story, which is why I had somebody tell me like, oh yeah, that sounds good. That's a very important story. I'll watch that documentary. It's like it's not a documentary. It is a narrative feature. And it's awesome, and you don't have to care about the story to enjoy it.
It could have been a documentary, but like it's based on like true events that happened in Sing Sing, because this is an actual theater program for the prisoners. Like,
and I think so. I think that based on what you guys were talking about earlier, just of the dehumanization of prisoners and people not really wanting to think about it in a monocultural aspect, I think it's more effective as a narrative like this that is and it's so much more nuanced, and it just hasn't had the chance to even go through the discourse except for nerds like us, and that's a compliment.
So what you're saying, Conan, is that people would actually watch Sing Sing if it was an actual documentary, and could actually get a lot of Oscar nominations in the process.
I think that's the methodology that people expect. And that's very cynical to say, but it's also true.
You get to these weird positions with the dehumanization thing, but also with just the rules around this stuff, right? Where you have both Clarence Maclin and Divine G, like the actual guy, as well as Colman Domingo, I'm sure, but Colman Domingo doesn't have any felonies as far as I know. Like he can travel, but the two of them were banned from going to the UK to accept their BAFTA awards because they're on parole. And it's like it's just another
wow,
because there's the rules between Europe and the EU and England and the United States, and where you so if you have a felony you can't travel out of the country, and it's like, but they're like, oh well, they've won, but they can't come here to get their award. Someone else has to go get it for them.
Ugh.
On top of this movie literally being like, hey, I got accused for murder and I didn't do it, and I have audio that proves I didn't do it, and they're not letting me, they're not even listening to the audio, which I guess parole hearings technically aren't for that. So I don't you have to actually go through the process of, but there's even the conversation where they're like, oh, the deputy, the sheriff's deputies are not calling us back, and it's like we can't talk to them because they're not calling. They want to keep you in prison despite they don't give a fuck that you didn't do it. They don't give a fuck. You're in here now. If you wanted to prove that, you should have found the audio that we had that we were keeping in our back room. You should have broken it down.
And talking about with this, because today on the news, some person who was on death row is trying to go to the Supreme Court right now to get himself exonerated because there's evidence to suggest that he in fact was innocent. Because believe it or not, guys, you guys probably know this, but the death penalty has actually killed more innocent people than actually those who were found actually guilty. It's stupid. It's ridiculous.
It's barbaric.
Yeah.
If you believe in the death penalty, you're saying you think the justice system, next month, Justin Extravaganza, by the way, has never gotten it wrong. Really?
It always gets it wrong.
Really?
9 times out of 10, it gets it wrong.
Yeah, well, my thing is always with the death penalty, especially, right? It's everybody's like, oh, I own my life. I'm an individual. My life is my own. And then it's like, but also if the state really chooses to kill me, they can. And it's like, I mean, obviously, physically they can. There's nothing you can really do about that. But the justice wise, really, and it's the same people that don't trust the state for a bunch of other reasons. They're like, get the state off my back, unless they want to kill me.
Yeah.
And
maybe
then
are we even though maybe we'll talk about our last meals later.
But it's just, I don't know. It's just such a grotesque thing. And for the longest time, and especially now we have a reality show president. So
I don't want to get into that.
but I'm saying there's always been an element of there's always been an element of sensationalized horror that comes with this, and with prisons too. Like there's an element of that is a spectator sport. For the longest time, people would get executed, and there'd be a gallery
gladiatorial rise.
And it's like it's just the most disturbed. Like I feel like it's a sick society that in the modern era has all of our concepts about human rights, has all of our concepts about supposed concepts, right, about like law and order and all this stuff, and then they're like, yeah, but we could still, like right now in Alabama, they're doing it with nitrous gas or whatever. They're literally suffocating people with gas that suffocates you over like a long period of time because they ran out of the lethal injections. And it's like, it's barbaric to a level that I just can't comprehend and makes me feel sick thinking about it.
Yeah, it's interesting too because it almost seems like, not the knockdown movies for glamorizing crime, but like it reminds me of like in Goodfellas when Henry goes to prison for the first time, and I'm like, wait, he's able to roam around, he's able to hang out with the other dudes and cook
making pasta.
Italian. Yeah. I'm like, oh, and I think to myself, I'm like, it's a wise guy's prison.
It wasn't, but that is what that prison was. Like, I actually read the book Wise Guy that Goodfellas is based on. Like, that is what he was mad at. He was able to wander off that prison and like escape for a little while and like have sex with his wife like in the woods because nobody was watching anything going on in that prison. There was a place called the Farm. You get transferred there, and then like you're literally just living on a farm. They're not even
but like not like that for those in Sing Sing, clearly.
Well, not like that if you're, African American. Like, I don't think. Like, I think that's very much a white collar or organized crime white guys kind of situation. But also, I mean, like even the fact that like I felt kind of sick learning about this today that the reason they built the prison that not Sing Sing, because Sing Sing has been around forever, but the prison that they shot this in, the maximum security prison, there's 2 in Fishkill and 1 still around, but the maximum security one that they closed down that this movie was filmed in was because in 1979 they knew that the war on drugs and the war on crime was getting to the point where too many people in the city were going to be arrested, so they were shipping them up here to prisons. So they had to started building prisons for the excess, and we've started to close some of them down because COVID happened and because it's just a large expense, I guess. Like put them all more like sardines, I guess that's what they want to do. But it's like it's this deeply disturbing. Like when you think about the date, like 1979, it's like, oh fuck, like that's the prison for like once they start doing the war on drugs and the war on crime and like all this stuff and starting to ship as many people as they can out of the city.
I got one from the comments from we said earlier. The mainstream would have preferred it to be a doc because they'd be able to deny them the dignity of being multidimensional characters, containers of universal meaning, which I think is the key to this movie. And I think it gets real. Like you remember this when you see Divine G going to his clemency hearing. And then you immediately see, despite all the prep, like the hilarious, prep where he's talking about, doing DJ stuff, like all that, like hilarious, good stuff. And then it's like, it gets real, like immediately with the, are you acting now? And it's like, wait, what? It's like a slap in the face. It's so jarring. And that's one of the reasons why.
How do you answer that? Because the answer for anybody in any situation is kind of, like we act as human beings. Like that is, like if you really want to get philosophical, but I don't think the broad of the,
probably not what she was referring to. Yeah. but also I think that's key to something that I've seen you mention, McKenzie, about like the delivery of the envelope, where you're just like, oh no, like because you have this idea of like, okay, well, I guess that could kind of go either way. Like he's kind of done all this objective good. They gotta let him out, right? And then you see the envelope, and you're just like, oh no, like just by looking at it.
Like, when the big envelope hits the inside of the thing, it's like oh fuck, like.
So how'd that play in a big crowd, McKenzie? Was that like just like?
Yeah, there was a lot of like audible reactions to that because they set it up so well in that monologue, that scene with him where he explains the sizing of the envelope. So both times the envelopes were revealed, there was kind of big reactions in the audience because it's surprising, right? Like we identify with Divine G because he's Colman Domingo, so we're just sort of like on his side, and he is showing himself to be kind and soft and artistic and interesting. And so when this happens to him, I think it's really heartbreaking for the audience. And obviously it gives us kind of a neat ending, and we do see him get out because it's not a movie that wants to leave us with like that dour feeling. But yeah, I mean, when you were talking earlier about how like it's really a movie that is exclusively about empathizing with the people on screen, it reminds me of that famous Roger Ebert quote about film being an empathy machine. And I think that we live at a time that is increasingly losing kindness and empathy for other human beings. Like, we're living in a very desensitized, angry, mean time in culture right now. And I think maybe that's why this movie challenges people, because it's taking a group of people that are often never afforded empathy and kindness and care, and opening you up to their world and asking you to care. And me and my wife, we donate to RTA now. So like we became donors of RTA because like this is a really incredible program, and you can go to their website and you can give them $10 a month and you can support the work they do. And I think that's why sometimes it feels important to watch the movie, because it's uplifting something that really matters in this world, in a world that is just, I don't know. I'm finding it hard to wake up every day and see a lot of the bad stuff that's going on, but maybe it feels good to remember that there's people who are having their lives changed through theater in this way.
Yeah, and I'm gonna
so
have
open-hearted. I think you're onto something with
Yeah.
that. It's so open-hearted as a movie, and like we're almost predisposed to be cynical about that culture.
Yeah.
Sorry, Forrest.
No, I just said I'm gonna have the link to RTA in the actual show description. So if people want to check that out, of the link you can go and donate.
That's all right.
I mean, this
Letteract,
movie's definitely been a big boon to them, because they get to like their website now. Because I looked at their website a bunch. A lot of it is like pictures of the cast of the movie and people in it, and they're like, they've really been like, look, like the people that are in our program like made a movie. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, and so like there's so much like they're showing the cool stuff, talking about it, showing pictures from the actual like events that were depicted in the movie. Like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So cool. But it's so weird though. I know so many people who will like shit on prisoners and blah blah blah, but then they get caught selling drugs, and all of a sudden reality hits for them, and I'm like,
Yeah.
well,
See, I've seen a lot of the opposite. I've seen a lot of people who have recovered from drugs and then get incredible for whatever reason. I mean, it's never fully been able to be something that I understand. I've known people that have gone to jail. I've known people that have addiction that miraculously got the other side of it. And they're like, oh yeah, anyone that does drugs should be thrown in prison. And it's like, you have 1 in a 50 chance. Like, you're like, what? I mean, I don't know what the chances are of like at this point with fentanyl and shit, but like the chances of getting off something are so like, I would be grateful, and I would be
determined to stay sober and
like
like
trying
not.
to like help out. Yeah. And it's like,
Yeah.
I see a lot of people that they get very into the church and they get very reactionary, and it's like,
Yeah.
I don't think this is the direction to go in.
And this is why I feel like prisons need to do a better job when it comes to rehabilitating.
Well, they do almost none. Like,
Yeah,
they really-
yeah, and that's
There's
something
no-
we talk.
If you listen to like the Republicans, you would think that's all they do, and no, it's
Yeah.
almost non-existent.
I mean, that's the thing we covered in my psychology courses when it comes to criminal justice reform, case management, because a lot of prisoners, they're assigned like a caseworker to help them get them back on their feet. But the problem is there's no programs to help prisoners who get out to help them get back on their feet, because a lot of that's just too much for the taxpayer, which we know that's bullshit. Is actually more affordable to help than to keep them doing what they're doing, because then they're most likely to get back in prison because they have no guidance in their lives. And that's something that we need to consider, and that's why there's so much harping on prison reform, on rehabilitation and whatnot, because prisons, except for the ones in Denmark, it looks like they just don't look like decent places to try to get clean, get your act.
Yeah, they're not
together.
They're not designed for that.
Yeah.
They're designed
they're not.
to have conscripted cheap and or free labor.
Yeah,
That's what they're designed for.
And to warehouse the people that we think like instead of like trying to help people not fall through the cracks, we're like, oh no, just warehouse them. Like,
I mean, I don't think
Send them
I'm
back out.
especially erudite or brave for saying that. Like everybody that wants to
but-
look into it knows that. I'm just reiterating it because some people don't. Probably not anyone listening to the show, but
All right,
it'd be if you are, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, the other part of it that really just kind of demoralizes and depresses me, this whole conversation, is that people will, in good times, right? Like in times when people feel like, because a lot of this is just vibes, but like when people feel like the crime rate's down or whatever it is, people will be like, yeah, maybe we should do something about this. The second somebody's gets enough Fox News melting their brain, or like gets enough news just in general melting their brain, all of a sudden they do not want to help us anymore. They want to warehouse more people. And it's like, it's one of those reactionary thoughts, right? That like people have, that it's like the second people feel like something's unsafe, and it probably isn't, even, but like but it doesn't matter. It's a feeling that desire to help goes away. So it's like this is constantly being erased by a culture that like, you know, is just constantly bombarding us with information. And it's like, it's just so depressing that you can get to the point where even people that are like, oh, I really want to help. And they're like, oh, well, I heard on TV there's crime now and I don't want to help anymore. It's like,
damn local news, I swear to God, because that's all they focus on. That's why I can't watch local news.
Yeah. So this is another one of the comments. There's a certain sincerity in the film that discomforts us. The prisoner is closest to the presence of God than the free man, as their faith resides in the struggle, in their alienation. I think it's interesting the discomfort and challenging nature comes from that, and from the emotionality and sincerity, when we're so often presented with, frankly, this sexual assault. That seems to be the go-to of just like, okay, this is the thing that you're being discomforted with. Cool. How many thousands of times has that been used as a narrative device? And
Game of Thrones,
even in children's cartoons, like
sure, but I'm even thinking like, look at The Brutalist, right? Sorry, but like it's like there's, why is that there? Did that need to be there? You could have made the point another way. And we talked about that in our speed round episode.
Know what the point was of, like, I mean,
there wasn't one that I could tell.
Like, it's, oh, the power differential is he's reasserting the power differential, and it's like, no, he just raped a guy's ass while he was under the bridge. Like, the power differential was already there, at no point in that movie did that Laszlo, whatever, like, did he have that kind of power over that guy.
By the way, it absolutely is live, just so you know. We're just very absorbed with ourselves.
Yeah.
Wait, why would it be live?
Someone thought that wasn't live in the chat. I don't know why. I mean, unless you're watching it later. But if you're watching it, I don't know. That's
we'll do it live. Fuck it.
We'll do it live.
But I think that's something that because I've thought about, seeing this again. Like there's so much raw emotion here that people are just not used to being challenged in that way. Western audiences, I should say.
I think that things have been watered down a lot, because I think a lot about people think about like, why does Lord of the Rings still feel so good? Why do those Raimi Spider-Man movies feel so good, like compared to fantasy movies or superhero movies today? And I always say like, it's because they have these big beating hearts that are hanging off their sleeves. Like the Raimi Spider-Man movies are so filled with like an endearing, open vulnerability. So is Lord of the Rings. Like it leans into these moments of love and care and earnestness in a way that like modern blockbuster filmmaking especially doesn't anymore. And a lot of other films have sort of followed suit. So I think when we see films that are as earnest and open and vulnerable as Sing Sing, I think people in today's culture, they want to push away from it. I love an open, earnest, endearing movie. I'd rather even like a bad, goofy movie have a big, silly heart than be cynical and hardened.
The world is cynical and nasty, do I really need to see this in the media too? I mean, it better be
It's
good.
really gotten worse after 9/11. Like it was interesting. Some good movies were still, very lighthearted and whatnot, but then like as just like after like the Obama years, it's like cynical, dark, cynical, pessimistic, blah blah blah. And I'm like,
every Superman is darker and grittier than the last one.
Hey, not this time. We got James Gunn now.
I'm ready to love. My heart is open. But no, that reminds me, McKenzie, when you won last time to talk about Birds of Prey, right? Like, why did that one hit different? It's like, well, because there was like heart to it. There was emotionality to it. It wasn't just action figures moving across the screen and CGI.
Yeah. And
I remember being so sad when Uncle Ben died in the original like Raimi Spider-Man, and feeling like I was like, Uncle Ben, he loved Peter Parker so much. And then my brother.
That was the first movie I've ever seen in theaters, and that's the first time I saw Willem Dafoe in a movie, and I was like, oh.
I think all the time about the moment of the New Yorkers holding his chest up, and holding him, and like that is a moment that I can't even imagine in a superhero movie today. Like that type of emotion and community, and like if you want him, you come through us. Like
there's
that,
like a disconnect between the hero and the population now, and I'm like, I don't like that.
It's
Spider-Man.
Yeah, McKenzie, you're onto something with that because it's grounded, right? It's grounded in a way that it feels like actual people. Like not everyone would be like just cynical and detached observers. That people are, like that one dude's like throwing a pipe at him and stuff. It's just like
They tried to recapture.
Get out of here! No one needs you.
Was it Homecoming that one of the newer Tom Holland Spider-Man ones? I remember that they tried to recapture that like
No
kind
Way
of
Home.
subway thing, and and like he's on the subway, he's trying to rescue the New Yorkers, whatever, and it's like it didn't feel the same. I remember being in the theaters and seeing that and being like, I don't know. I mean, if they die, they die.
You give them the "At least you tried" award. At least you tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back then,
No, but I think like
we didn't even need that try.
New York,
This movie did it.
New York spirit in the wake of 9/11. I was like, yeah, all the New Yorkers are gonna help him out, just, as long as he's not Arab.
Jesus. Anyway, so Sing Sing. Wow, that's quite the derivation. Okay, but yeah, I think there is a natural reaction for what is left of this atomized former monoculture of just reacting cynically to something like that, and to what's the angle? You know, what's the angle in this? What is this trying to do to me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Of course, that
Make
angle completely
me
disappears.
sympathize with people who've committed crimes.
The question about the angle for a lot of people seems to disappear when it's a rich person that is trying to scam you, or when it's like something like cryptocurrency that is trying, like it's just anything that really is trying to scam you. They're like, oh, all right, I'll buy in. And then when it's something that's like trying to give you empathy, it's like empathy. What is this? This is a scam. This is a scam to make me liberal. This is a scam to make me woke.
Yeah, it's true though. It's like people just don't like, people will shit on the word empathy or people who are empaths or whatever. Like, you can make fun of the empaths or whatever, but there are people out there who do feel.
Thanks for the permission. I've been hoping somebody gives me permission to make fun of empaths more.
But it's just so interesting how people can rather be self-centered and egotistical and cynical and not want to be kind and empathetic, and because that's part of being a human being. People, like, it's okay to feel sorry and have empathy for people who don't have it as well as you do. Like, they're not the reason why your life has gone to shit. That's more maybe your fault because you bought into scams that ruined your life.
Well, the empath thing, the reason that it's annoying is that it's hypocrisy. It's people that don't actually have empathy, that are like weaponizing.
They're used as an excuse to be self-centered.
Yeah, as a personality trait. So I don't know. I'll make fun of that, but like, it's like as a thing that's like, because it's like weaponized therapy speak pretty much. So like that I'll make fun of. But I do think empathy it's draining from everything, and I don't know. It's really hard, like, living in this world with empathy is
God, it's a torment scenario every day.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah. That's why like when I get like irritated at like certain things being discussed on this show, it's because like I want to escape that for like 2 hours when we talk about something. That's why. But it's not because I don't think it's important.
It's hard to talk about when a movie about like that's deep within like wanting prison reform. I know what you're saying. But
I'm just saying like certain things being invoked, right? Like that's why I get mad. It's not because I don't care. It's because I care way too much, and that's the problem. Because I can't quite turn it off, so I have to limit.
Because then you get angry about it. It's like,
then I'm just mad. Then I'm me on the Vice episode, just yelling about George Bush and Dick Cheney for like hours.
And I think in my case, when I bring stuff up, because I don't really want it's just that I sometimes can't even turn it off for those 2 hours. I'd love to. You know what I mean? Like it's like I would love to not think about any of this stuff. Like
what's it like for those who don't?
What I want to talk about is the cinematography, because this is something that I noticed on this rewatch. This is kind of like a super standout element for me. Like everything is like framed through like doorways and windows, like a kind of like a tight box, and like that sense of space is so well utilized here, and in a way that. So I just saw Evil Does Not Exist too, which I loved, and how that depicted like woodland scenes like Forrest in a way with vibrant colors that's usually done in very drab kind of earth tones. That stood out to me in the same way that cinematography here. You see these movies that are like set in like jails or prisons or whatever, and that's always like the same shots. You get the same couple establishing shots. You get the hallway shot. You have like these other shots here, right? Everything looks so unique and different, and so you get these, and then you get these moments, like the inside the barbed wire, right? That like this is like it shows like the stifling reality of like the confinement. Of what's happening here, and it's done in a way that just it's art and pictures, right? It's the visual of it more than anything else, and you really understand like, oh, these guys are just like frozen in amber basically while life goes on around them, which is emphasized to great effect by the guy who got out and comes back and talks about life on the outside. And he's talking about, whatever. I made pancakes at 2 a.m. just because I could. And he goes on, and the whole soliloquy about how like all these things that are great about being on the outside and this and that thing. And then he talks about losing his dog.
Yeah.
And it's so heartbreaking. He's like, oh yeah, well, there's still heartbreak on the outside though. Don't worry about that. But he's free when he does it. And it just occurs to me like how much the movie with the visuals and the direction like set up that you feel like you're in a compact space the entire time, and how few movies that bother with that, you know what I mean?
Like there's like two things, like the idea of, well, I mean, I'm sure there's multiple ones when it comes to like death that really freak me out, but brain aneurysms and strokes are two that really, really freak me out for some reason. Like I mean, well, brain aneurysm I think because it's just instant. It's instant, and the person or you are gone, right? Like it's not like something like a heart attack where you have like I mean, some brain aneurysms you do have time, but like you don't have a bunch of time where
look at what happened to Michael. He had one in his neck.
Yeah. People just slump over, and it's like, and this movie really like he and they're in like the the hottest fucking cells in the jail, right? Like it's like a burning oven, and you have to imagine that the tax that has in your body too. But it's like his brain aneurysm, and he just dies, and it's like it's such a freaky thing to really like realize that's what happened, because he's mid conversation, and it's like he's
and they're having like a really deep back and forth.
It's like go like this a little bit, and like feel that like something's wrong, but like something's wrong because also he's in prison, and something's wrong because also he's boiling alive in that room, and it's like you're not going to realize necessarily that like, oh, that headache that I'm having a brain aneurysm, and he's just dead. Like I just found that to be such a heartbreaking and freaky thing, especially because I thought that guy was going to commit suicide, like because he kind of was depressed the entire like, it's like, I'm never getting out of here, I'm never going to see my family's gone on without me. Like my wife or whatever, like he died, she's not gonna, like there's just so much depression to it, and it's like I figured that guy was gonna like hang himself or something, but no, like his death
it kind of does seem like, and then that makes you question your own preconceptions why you would think that way. But I thought the same thing.
Yeah,
and that's like, well, why did I think that? It's like, geez, what's wrong with me?
I mean, I know why. I mean, I thought
you
that
can't have hope.
It's a pejorative question. I don't want you to answer it.
No, I know, but I'm saying in my own. No, what I'm saying in my own mind, I very much understood why like. It's just that it's that lack of hope. Like that once you have that feeling, once that feeling is unshakable, like I understood that very well. I do not understand the feeling of brain aneurysm and something. Like I could have understood suicide. And they say that, right? They're like, I could have understood, if he hung himself, I could have understood if somebody stabbed him to death. I cannot understand this. And to have them say that line actually in the movie.
And deal with and deal with the grief in real time, because at that point, like you're almost kind of coasting along, like, oh yeah, everything's going well, and then it's like the rug is just completely pulled out from it. But it's not cynical, it's not contrived. It's very much just, again, it's part of. It's rooted in reality. Death is part of life. It really is, and you get to see Divine G not be okay at all, and again, like and be. For a number of reasons, which by the way happens to me weekly. So, but like not on that level, but like that's so. Oh God, it does like it's the opposite of Amelia Perez. It does like 9 things well, instead of like trying for 9 different things and doing none of them well. And it makes me insane with that. But I wanted to talk, McKenzie. I mean, again, how do you feel about like the shot composition, the direction, like as a movie? How do you feel about Sing Sing?
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is gonna sound like the nerdiest thing ever, but I love 16mm film so much. It's like my favorite film stock. I have a private list of like movies I love that are filmed on 16mm. I feel like Carol is a big one that people love. That movie just looks so good, and it's filmed on this rich 16mm. A lot of Kelly Reichardt films, like Certain Women and Old Joy. Janet Planet, which is a movie I know you didn't love but last year, but I think it looks really beautiful, was filmed on 16mm. So was Sing Sing, and it did
look great, even if I didn't particularly care for it. But yeah, and then respect for those that did.
I'm one of those who liked it.
Respect.
Respect to you as well. But no, I just love the way that 16mm gives it sort of a soft, dreamlike quality. Like I just love the way 16mm looks on film so much, and I think that it's weird because there's we're in this hardened place. We're in a place that you have a lot of preconceived notions about in terms of how it's going to look and how it's going to feel. But with the intimate sort of shot composition combined with the dreamy, soft 16 millimeter film, it makes it feel almost like there's like a kind, beautiful, it's kind of a strange beauty to this place, weirdly. Like it's I think that's something that I think feels really intentional about the movie, is that like the use of the type of film and these intimate shots make it feel sort of beautiful in a way that it's finding beauty in a place where there's a lot of pain and a lot of hardship and a lot of ugliness, right? To these places that are usually not well maintained and are made to keep people in inhumane conditions. They're still able to find like a lot of beauty through the way it's directed.
And it makes it almost seem a little more timeless.
Yeah.
Too, right? Like for some reason, like a 60 millimeter film always kind of seems like out of time to me. Like which is it could be 1960, could be 1980, could be 1990.
Yeah,
whatever.
it's like when I saw the first. I mean, I think the first film I saw that was 60 was that film 13, directed by Catherine Hoderick with Evan Rachel Wood and Nikki Reed about
wow.
Nikki's experience as a teenager. That's great. I love that movie. Never happened to me, but I was like, looking back now, thinking about cinematography, I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely 16 millimeter camera work right there. Like Mackenzie has a point about how like it just doesn't seem like, it seems very dreamlike. Sometimes, as Conan, you point out, you're wondering like when was this filmed? It could have been whatever year. Like it's really fascinating how a lot of people are using more 16 millimeter to like specifically nowadays. Movies are trying to capture a certain aesthetic. I mean, when I watched The Apprentice, the Donald Trump movie, they wanted to make it look like the 70s and the 80s documentary style,
right.
Like cinematography. Yeah. Like it's good that more and more directors and cinematographers are doing different things and not making every film look the same, like Year in Yellow, if you will.
Yeah,
lots of Year in Yellow.
It's one of those movies that's on the Kodak, the Kodak website's like, look, they shot this on our film stock.
Yeah, I feel like Riddle of Fire, the movie Riddle of Fire, which is one of the ones that like I've just been tearing through everything on our free month of movie, so I can catch up on that. And I quite liked it, but one of the things I really liked about it was that it was shot on film, and it's like the perfect movie for that, because it is very much like a like in that, without being anything like the Zemeckis children adventure film, it's also kind of like that in the good ways, but like very different, because they just don't have a lexicon to describe that. But all I will say is that I feel like the way that it was shot, not just on film, but on that specific film, gives it such a unique view that like you kind of buy more into the world and what's going on with these kids, and it's all 16 millimeter, because otherwise you're like, all right, it's like Escape to Witch Mountain and Peanuts and Goonies and whatever, like, and all of those things are true, and it's also just an adorable film that has its own built world, and like there's something to be said, like we don't need everything to be super high def 4K, HD, right? Like sometimes it's nice to see the flaws. As we learned when we did Lord of the Rings, it was like, look at those restored versions, like the upscale versions on like Max, and it's like, nah, let's watch my DVD, man, I'm good.
It's like with the Wizard of Oz, like Technicolor, but like everything you can with everything in 4K now, you can see like the lines of like where the makeup starts and all that. But like one movie that I personally like that really did a good job with catching the mood of doing the lighting and cinematography was Hard Candy with Elliot Page and Patrick Wilson. That was really good. That was a good, like, I love films that don't have to all be the same now. Like a lot of people are like, why are movies all looking the same? I'm like, you're not digging hard enough to find movies that aren't like this, though.
Yeah. So but
they don't get distributed.
Wasn't Sandra Oh in that too?
Yep, she was.
Cool. I remember that movie.
You would go on the Kodak website and you can actually like look up by film stock, by film format, by like you can really go through it. But like I mean, Kodak is obviously just like the classic, and every movie that's really good, like The Brutalist is Kodak, but it's 35 millimeter. Nosferatu, 35 millimeter Kodak. Honora was shot on
Strange
Kodak.
Darling, right?
Yeah,
I mean that's like
I think we went through this when we talked about Strange Darling.
We certainly did.
Yeah. It's cool though.
But yeah, it's 16 millimeter, and it's I want to see what, like, because they have different like stocks of it. It's interesting. They chose 16 millimeter, and everyone else is kind of this year choosing 35 millimeter.
35.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an aesthetic choice, and I think it's the right one, and I think it just adds to, like, there's a hominess to it, and that's why, like, you know, I sometimes get irritated when it's like similar films, and it's like, oh, these are all just Japanese movies, or oh, these are all just movies that are set in prison or whatever. It's like nothing like any of those things.
Yeah.
But that's just like, you know, whatever. That's AI for you, right? You need a trusted guide like this show to tell you stuff that you might like if it's recommended. You know, and this is a hard one. What is like Sing Sing? Nothing I can really think of.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean,
If Prisoners of Love if Prisoners of Love became a real musical, maybe, I don't know.
But see, the whole thing about the end of the producers is it's the cynicism of it is the exact opposite of this, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's funny that it's both theater, but it's like, oh no, they're still scamming, and in this, there's like a true rehabilitation that happens with these characters, and it's like, but I don't know,
Well,
I always,
you know, 600% of Prisoners of Love.
It always cracked me the fuck up because I'm like, yeah, of course they're gonna, like, you can't stop now, like, of course you're gonna keep scamming, like.
Yeah. But there's really hardly any films that do tackle this issue in prisons. Like, you know, you can rehabilitate these guys after all. They do have goals, they do have dreams, they do have things that they want to accomplish and do something that can help them, you know, get back into the real world. There's not many films that do cover, you know, prison reform unless it's some like documentary. But I know someone pointed out that Amazon has like a whole TV series about something that's similar to Sing Sing, but I'm not sure if it's just a documentary or if it's a scripted show. But like, hopefully Sing Sing starts a trend that we will see more of that in the future.
But I also just, I mean, again, I want to reiterate though that one of the reasons why this is so special it isn't just like eating your vegetables.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a documentary, that sounds great. I would probably watch it and be very sad after I watch it with how miserable the world is. But that's not what this is. Like, you have like such small things, like, you know, like in here we call each other beloved.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So by the way, it's Vision 3
crazy.
250D color negative film is what they shot it all on.
Okay, there you go. So take note and don't add us about it. But it's a small thing, right? You know, is it like there? And it's, again, man, first, it's almost a meta narrative because you're talking about the power of performance and acting and drama to transcend your situation that you're in, and how it can help you grow as a person and change as a person. That it's the perfect way to do it. And again, people expect it to something lesser than it is because we're just used to slop. We're used to slop. That's really what it is.
I think a common, and I think this is just a problem with our system because of the way our system's been designed, obviously, but like a big trope that they're trying to get to the root of this, right? Like there's a lot of movies or shows or whatever where somebody gets released from prison and then they don't have any kind of rehabilitation because so they're just struggling through everything without, you know, I mean, like you have a parole officer, but like, number one, like once you're like, I had a friend that died during the pandemic because like right at the end of the pandemic, they're like, look, you got in trouble for having for having drugs on you, and now you have to go see somebody at this place for like 6 months and they're going to drug test you. But they weren't giving coping skills to be like, hey, after we're done drug testing you and you're not liable to go back to like any kind of situation, like this is how you come through it. They're just like, we'll drug test you and you're not going to do drugs because you're getting drug tested. So it's like they weren't giving, and he like ended up passing away because he just didn't know what to do once like COVID hit. Like
a substitute, something that like when my father was an alcoholic, he substituted drinking with fishing, like an actual good downtime for him to, you know, like unwind and relax.
It'd be hard not to have a cold one when you're fishing though. Yeah.
But like that's a good point though, Forrest. It's like they're not giving him something. They weren't giving your friends something to focus on, to not stress about drugs and whatnot. And again, that's something that's so common today.
He had worked, but he worked at a warehouse and they it was COVID, so they're like, hey, we're not gonna have people standing next to each other in a warehouse anymore for a few months. So it's like even that's taken away, right? Like the
social interaction almost feel
well,
isolated.
and that's why in the clemency hearing it's so important in this movie. They're like, oh yeah, we're not denying that it's a good program, like and he's like, oh. Because like that was like his like ace, right? That was like his ace in the hole, and it would like again, that's like another layer of just like, oh, this is not going as well as you thought it was going.
Yeah,
because he was almost getting overconfident about it. He's like, oh, I got this, I got the evidence, like I'm gonna make my case, I'm gonna be charming as hell, I'm gonna
get too cocky.
I mean, I think it's definitely a tragic story, it's tragic. It's really sad. It's also like, I mean, I like thinking about it and I hate thinking about it from the perspective of somebody that's like, I'm going to keep this person in prison. It's like, if there's a murder, I think they err on the side of being like, hey, this might be a murderer that we're going to let out. And it's like, so it's like you have like, I don't think he was necessarily thinking about, because he had the ace in the hole. It was like, oh, I have the tape, which I can see how elated you'd be to have that tape, and then to have it constantly be like, oh yeah, well the sheriffs aren't calling me back, so I guess like it probably is a good tape that says that you're innocent, but they're not answering the phone. We don't have the votes. We don't have the House or the Senate. What can we do?
Right. We can't do anything.
No.
We're
but
all we can do is fundraise.
It's like I think the gravity of like being like, oh, this guy, and they changed it from in the real Divine G, the guy, there was a drug deal outside of his house that went wrong. But he was inside of his house. He wasn't involved in the drug deal, but and they're like, oh, well, and he was a drug dealer. So like, and he's admitted that he was. So it's like, what they were saying is like, well, this guy, there's a dead body here from a drug deal. This guy's a drug dealer. We're going to take him in, which of course they were doing that to just black people in general at that point. And like, that definitely had something to do with it. He was living in the projects with his mom and his sister. But like, at the same time, there's like the, I don't know. It's like, you can't be overconfident about that. Cause it's like, in the movie, they changed it to being a woman, and they said a woman got shot a bunch of times or something like that too. And they changed the gender of the person that was killed to, I think, because it makes it more dramatic. But at the same time, it's like the movie version of it. It's like, yeah, if a woman gets killed outside of your house with like 5 or 6 gunshots, like you're gonna take that serious to the point where like if the deputy doesn't call you back, you're just in prison for the rest of your life. Like.
Yeah.
And then they also said there was like the racist incidents where like they're like it just seems like so stacked against him, and that fucking like that's why it's so heartbreaking. And of course it's the like this movie does a good job showing how these systems of oppression like there's a part of your brain that's like, well, hopefully if there's a person of color and like a woman, they'll have some kind of empathy that this guy clearly has, right, for everybody, but maybe they'll have some kind of empathy for a situation. It's like, no, like the 2 white guys didn't say shit during that thing. It's all the woman, like a black woman that's literally, and then at the same time, the guard that like really like starts to like you don't see it very much, but like the guard that freaks out the guys is like a black guard. Like you see that these systems of oppression, like there are times when the people that are like the on the outside or something might be seen or empathetic or seen as being a part of the oppressed group that you're part of, have no such thing once they're in a position of authority. Like, and that kind of struck me watching it too.
Well, yeah, because I think the whole thing's about regaining humanity.
Yeah.
Sort of creating vulnerability. And that's the moment where we're just like, oh, they don't care about any of that.
Yeah.
Like, it's like all they, and it's just like, that's just the harsh reality. And so then I think it works so effectively because it allows you to, think about your own reactions to things. And like also be like, we expect Divine G to kind of sail through it, right? Of course, Colman Domingo. He's the best. He's charming as hell. He's like, well, hold on.
Yeah,
and like he's this program's kicking ass. Like we're in a traditional narrative, in like a lesser movie. It's like, well, I know exactly how this is going to play out, and like it hits you like a brick bat.
Yeah,
because you're not ready for it.
It does, but then like and what you're saying about like thinking about your own reactions to stuff. It's like I'm a pretty fucking cynical person. Like I don't know what I was expecting. Like what I mean? Right. It's like thinking about like, do I think that a person that is in this situation and then the hearing starts to go like that, do I think they're gonna get out in real life? No, I don't think they give a fuck about you. This is a system that doesn't view you as a human being. It's a system that views you as a number, and it's a situation where the amount of people that are probably going to get out is pretty slim. And it's like, so you're thinking about it, you're like, well, I'm watching a movie and I kind of expected he's gonna pull through, but it's like thinking about like if like this is real life. Oh no, I don't think he's gonna pull through. Like he's screwed. He's in jail for that's 25 fucking years of his life, or I think a month short of 25 years of his fucking life. Like in Sing Sing and in Rikers, which is a prison that freaks me out far more than Sing Sing does.
Oh yeah.
Because that is just a warehousing center. They do not like they don't give a fuck about you in Sing Sing. Don't get me wrong, but like they do like you could be in Rikers and like it's the warehousing place because they're like, well, these are
circumstances.
People stay there for like 5-6 years, but they're just transient prisoners because they're like, we're gonna eventually send you to prison, but you know, like there's backlog.
So, and again, knowing all that and knowing the world that we live in, I think that's why it's so incredible that a man's to be so deeply emotional without being manipulative. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of, I guess you can draw a lot of what I'm trying to say just down to that one sentence, that it's not trying to do anything. It's showing you like the open heart, like the natural light. You know, we talked about cinematography, right? The way this is lit is just so grounded. Like, and it's done in such a way that things that would be cliche, like, look, I like the Saturday Night Movie just fine. It was, you know, it was okay. But the way that was lit, it was like, all right, yeah, I get what you're doing here. Yeah, I understand. Like, and the way this is lit. Yeah, I mean, like, and they did a good job with it, right? But it's just, it's such a different approach, and it's not unnoticed, to be sure, but it's just such a different approach. And I feel that's so interesting. And it's so, when you have something like, again, somebody in the chat mentioned that, like, we're here to become human again line, right? They put on nice clothes and dance around and enjoy things that aren't in our reality. Amazing. You know, like you need to like have it look as, they need to look like humans. Flaws and all, right? These are, in some cases, very hard looking too. It's hard to look at too. Peace and love in my heart. It's prison, you know? I mean, Jesus Christ. And I think that's fantastic. And I think and we're getting to one thing I want to talk about before we move on to one-liners and whatnot, is the ending. Mm-hmm. I find the ending to be so devastatingly effective. Like it's something where it's like, oh wow, because you get so wrapped up with the story that you're like, oh yeah, like this is like based on like real people. I don't know, but McKenzie, how do you feel about the ending?
I mean, it feels very neat. It feels like the ending that needed to be there. I think that maybe ending it without Divine G seeing his release, I think it would have been a very cynical movie that like wouldn't have made sense for the rest of the movie. So I think it's a sweet ending. I like that, like it shows that Clarence and him are going to be there for each other, and it kind of sets up obviously the real life relationship that the two of them have as they've made this film together. And so yeah, I think it's really sweet. You know, part of me wishes we saw more of like, how did he get out? Like, I don't recall if there's like a time jump or like a thing that's like 5 years later.
It's a time jump. Yeah.
It doesn't. I don't think it says what the time jump is.
It doesn't say how much it is. Yeah, like part of me is like, how long was it? But because it's very quick. It's very like hastened ending.
In real life, I'm trying to look up the year as for it was not quick. I don't think. I think it was several years.
What is he? Yeah. And he says something at the end. God, what is it? But it's. God, I wish I could remember. But he's. Yeah, like it jumps ahead, and then you see like the real life footage from the RTA program,
which I love.
See the real actors,
yes.
Which is again, I was reminded like, oh yeah, real people. I actually forgot because I got so like swept along with the movie, or I'm just a dummy, one or the other. I don't know.
Well, a lot of them recently,
you're not the dummy.
No, and a lot of them recently reunited to perform the play again in New York as part of a fundraiser. So they actually recently just did the play in January.
Was there, Hamlet.
Yeah. All of them were there. It looked really
all your
fun.
favorites.
So they got back together.
It seems like such a bad play. Like, oh, don't worry, we can write it all over time travel. It's like, oh, I think we should do something else.
Well, that's another reason. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, like it shouldn't work, right? But yeah, it's
it does somehow.
But I love that, like it, continues to live on as a program, and again, it just I feel like we could live in a better universe that like this, people got to see it. And people, I guess, eventually will get to see it, but I think it didn't have the cultural moment that other movies had that maybe did not deserve, and probably the nicest way I can put that, without naming names. But
oh, you mean like Amelia Perez?
Wait, hold on, I'm not ready yet.
I know what he's gonna do.
Want to set me up for that?
You mean like Amelia Perez, Conan?
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
There we go. There we go. It was all worth it.
I mean,
I'm trying.
yeah, they really did screw the pooch. A24 is like, I mean, it's just.
And they bought the distribution rights. That's what I don't fucking understand about it.
If
It's
you're
like
gonna buy it, you got that's the whole.
We're gonna
point
buy
of
it and not
buying-
distribute it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna pay you to not grow corn.
I mean, maybe it's like there's certain people in the criminal justice system that are like, hey, we do not want this out there. Please bury it.
Yeah.
I think that the pay model of like how they are distributing the funds honestly could have something to do with it. Somebody like said a theory about that. I don't remember who it was. And I was like,
Well, they took the money. So they took the money from that deal and they gave it to the. But are they not allowed to do with whatever they want with the money? I mean, it's like in advance. I don't know.
Who cares?
I'm just.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I like the equity thing, and I think it's interesting that so they're not doing it the same way as these guys are, but Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, I guess, just opened a place called Artist Equity where they're trying to open it up to more down the line people that are like on the crew for that kind of equity thing that actors like a lot of times get, and like like directors and like people higher up on the line, and so they're trying to open up to more people. It will not be a I don't think it's going to be a, hey, let's all evenly split the.
No, probably not. But at least, it's a start. But I mean, that is a conspiracy theory brain thing of like, well, maybe that's why they didn't want to see it succeed. So it could be like, hey, wait, how are they splitting up the money now? Like, what? That sounds okay.
But it's different. Like, there's a difference. And I was reading about this between indie films, right? And I mean, obviously there's, but like indie films and like studio films that like the biggest expense by far on like an indie film that's like low budget a lot of times is the top of like there's like the one A-list star that they get in there because you can't sell the movie without that one guy. And so it's like, oh, we're giving millions of dollars to like this one guy, and then everyone else gets hundreds of thousands or whatever the fuck it is, right? Like, or tens of thousands, whatever. Like what?
Yeah, unless you're like Willem Dafoe in the Florida Project, where he's like, screw it, yeah, let's do this movie. It sounds rad.
Yeah, that's
or
what
Willem Dafoe with any movie.
Or Willem Dafoe with any movie. Yeah.
Willem Dafoe's like,
what do I get to do? Sounds great.
Willem Dafoe's like, you guys are getting paid.
Yeah,
he's done like 10 films since 2021. It's insane.
Dude likes working, and he was. Yeah. He had a little Dafoe almost out in full display on Kinds of Kindness. But
yeah, it's
just a tease.
He did a whole flexible face thing, and I'm like, me too. I got the same type of thing. Flexible face.
Flexible face, everybody. Listen, Letterboxd is a social media site for film lovers talk at with and to each other about the movies that they love.
2012, by the way. So the jump between the two movies is the movie starts in 2005, and 2012 is when he got released from prison.
Oh wow.
Maybe the movies that they didn't love, and maybe the movies that they're talking about a unfair carceral state. And, of course, all of this is bottom-up democracy. Everyone gets to have their say. Everyone gets to chime in, opine. Not just Siskel's and Eberts of the world. Everyone gets to try their hand. And, of course, that's best done and expressed succinctly for the purposes of this bit, which are collected weekly by yours truly, for Forrest and the panel to react to in real time. These are the Letterboxd one-liners for Sing Sing. Let's go. Shawshank Redemption, but for theater kids.
Yes. Yeah.
I've never seen Shawshank. It's a crime.
Really?
Yeah.
I know. It's weird. It's a weird blind spot for me.
Well, I'm excited for when you do. I think you'll dig it.
And my
It's
review
like
will be Sing Sing for non-theater kids.
If you did that, that would be god tier. Like I would like unlike it so I could like it again.
Conan would make alts to add some likes to it.
Exactly. Yeah, precisely. Imagine watching this and not wanting to burn the prison industrial complex to the ground.
Amen.
Hear, hear.
Seriously, we're here for like Ole. We like to abolish the prison industrial complex. So
Yes.
I mean, I don't think there's any way to like warehouse.
Sugarcoat it.
I don't think there's any way to warehouse human beings that's like ethical or humanized. Like,
No.
I mean, there's like you go to like Finland or somewhere like that. Like there's some better ways to do it, like better ways to actually teach people technical skills and stuff like that.
They give you like slow Wi-Fi, and that's the worst thing you have. Like, it's like that looks better than my house, man. What do you like? You're in prison.
Can we just stop fear mongering about the word abolish now?
I I get on the Facebook and I cannot see the statuses.
The pages load so slow.
This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
Really happy to confirm this movie does exist after trying to see it for the last 8 months. Yes.
Right up our alley.
Did you ghostwrite that, Conan?
I know, exactly. Those are the alts I don't like your reviews on.
Every year there's one. It's like, those are the movie.
Yeah.
Like,
Nomadland.
I'm Still Here is like that too, because it's like,
yeah, I'm Still Here, yeah.
Yeah, someone said I'd never heard of it until it got nominated. I'm like, you're voting for the Oscars. What are you talking about?
You're like, I'm still here. Well, I hope you're still here because I haven't fucking seen you yet. But
can we fucking,
Kristina, we hold ourselves to a higher standard than the actual Academy does, just so you know.
Let us vote. Let us fucking vote. Like,
we're gonna decide.
Let the movie podcasters vote instead of members of the Academy or directors, actors, producers, writers, whatever. Like, it's stupid.
Well, I mean, members of the Academy are also like just people in movies. Like, how many people just vote for their friends?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's my homie. I gotta vote for him, and it's like,
let them fight. The prison industrial complex versus the theater kid industrial complex.
Hey now, that would make a good musical.
I just think there's certain kinds of theater kids that need to be in prison.
Wow.
Wow.
Forced views do not represent the view of movie next round.
Especially co-host Kristina.
Less prisons for prisoners, more prisons for theater kids.
In other news, big things coming for Conan Neutron as it goes on too. All aboard the Colman Domingo should win an Oscar for this movie train. There's an ASCII train there, which I appreciate.
Chugga. Let's go.
Yeah, it's my pick.
It's oh my god, the perfect trolley problem. The perfect like version of that kind of thing, right? Like if you pull it, Colman Domingo does win the Oscar, right? But Amelia Perez wins Best Picture.
That's like some monkey's paw
Hello,
stuff.
we're doing a conclave situation going on here. Don't be trying to don't be doing that.
This Pope's gonna die for nothing.
Oh, I die. And they're just like, oh, Amelia Perez wins. Oh! Oh! Me and the Pope die on the same day because Amelia Perez won.
I think I would die though first.
Oscar-winning tears. When
he's given the speech at the beginning and he really gets into it, he has those Oscar-winning tears. But then you have the same kind of moment where he fucks it up by saying line. But when Maclin actually gets the Hamlet speech down, and when he actually gets that vibe, because dude, it's the worst Hamlet I've ever heard. Where he's like, "Aye, there's the rub."
Yeah. It's good stuff, man.
Die, zombie, die.
Great way to get me to like a movie with no women. Not strictly true, but mostly true.
I mean, there's we've
canonically established that dudes do rock in this movie. So.
Dudes do rock in this movie, but they're like like we talked about the whole like prison rape thing. Like in this movie, right? The one guy they don't cast is like, no, he's weird with the women. That guy is weird with women, and it's like they're like, we don't want that person. Like he's gonna just
what you do with a band, what you do with a podcast, what you do with like your friend group. That's what you do.
But I'm saying like the way that we're taught to think about prisoners and like sexual violence, all that stuff, right? Like it's just like it almost feels like a radical thing to say, like have the prisoners be like, hey, let's not have the creepy guy there, and it's like that is so different than the image of prisons that we're shown.
It turns it on its head. Yeah, agreed.
But also they're just like people, and it's like in prisons they're just people.
Going forward, you'll never want to watch a play that doesn't include cowboys, gladiators, Egyptians, Freddy Krueger.
Just the Freddy Krueger one, like I really was on the same vibe as Divine G, where he's just like he's like, oh, Freddy Krueger, like
welcome to theater, bitch.
No, there's a line. He's like, is Freddy there? And he's like, Freddy is there. And I was like, Freddy should not be there. Get Freddy out of there.
What are you doing over here?
But I guess Maid Marian's there in the Greek army, and
yeah, why not? We got them all. What do you need, kid? We got them all.
I
want to read that play. There's no way that play is good. And then they don't even discuss I was interested in the comment. Like I'm like that one kid or the one guy that's like, hey, can we discuss the mechanisms of time travel? Is this like a wormhole or something? And everyone's like,
they're like, no, we
can't. I want to know about this.
Sounds like us with a former co-host.
Look. Can't wait for Adrian Brody to somehow win Best Actor.
Yeah.
Let it be Timothée or like that'd be funny though.
I will say if they found a role for Adrian Brody in this movie, I think that might have gone hard. If he was like something like just a cameo though. He was like
stop playing Holocaust survivors and winning Oscars for those. You're being typecast, my dude.
You can have him. Well, there's worse. If you're looking to win an Oscar, there's worse things to be typecast as. But
by the way, two things. Tag on here, match my freak. Okay. Sure.
Oh, okay.
Good tag work here. There's a tag that's just a knife. All right.
Okay.
I don't know.
Guy Pearce, match my freak.
Like I said, I love that movie with Saoirse Ronan and Sam Rockwell, where he plays a annoying entitled actor, Adrian Brody. He's great. My dad loved it.
There's I know Succession. There's episode of the session where Adrian Brody brokers a peace between Logan Roy and Kendall Roy, and he's trying to broker the peace between the two. And I was like, why did you pick Adrian Brody for this?
I know. Anyway, don't tell Slim about this. They should make prison illegal and theater mandatory.
Yes. Good, best take yet.
Christina's breaking her keyboard trying to follow this user.
If you do a crime, you should have to like act out you should have to really like.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Like,
I'm gonna sell drugs. Oh, drugs.
I'm gonna sell drugs.
Not take drugs.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I get to act out. Yeah, I'm acting out doing drugs right now.
Yeah. Woo-hoo. Those are the Letterboxd one-liners for Sing Sing. Please follow our Letterboxd HQ account at Movie Night Extra, where we are sometimes logging all of the movies that we cover on these great episodes, as well as attendant short-form material.
This is the month that we should have been up on it, and we fell off.
We are so not up on it this month. We are. I think the last one is Nosferatu, but anyway, that was like the first of the year.
It's my old roommate. Hello.
Lovely.
And one of my best friends.
Oh, well, welcome. So follow us at Movie Night Extra for that. We're going to get back on it, at least before we do our Oscar stream, I guess. Maybe, he said, hopefully, maybe. At Always Flacco, that's Forrest. We don't say slurs, we say beloved. And you can follow him on Letterboxd as he logs all the stuff that we cover in this show.
Imagine a guy on Xbox. We don't say that, we say beloved.
I just watched, was it Grand Theft Hamlet? Was that wait? Is that what it is? Yeah. I literally just watched it. You think I remember the name of this movie? So that hit. By the way, that movie's awesome. Check it out. But yeah, sorry, Forrest at Always Flacco. Follow him for all that stuff. He's all up in that biz. I am Conan Divine Neutron. I am not acting during this interview. You can follow me for the highbrow, the midbrow, the populous fair. Follow me along for the Criterion Challenge. 2025, making good headway. I have to be because I'm going to be missing a whole bunch of weeks from not watching movies. So follow me along for that. Kristina over there, Cosmopolitics. She's at Kristina on Letterboxd. The Prisoner of Love and the Prisoner of Letterboxd reviews never, honestly. But you have been posting a lot more lately, so always a good follow for Christina Oakes down there. McKenzie Wilkes. The Austin Danger Podcast, Criterion Connection Pod. We will get into it with the plugs, but yeah, great follow on Letterboxd. And I know I speak from experience when I say this. So she's into interesting stuff. Let's hit it with the plugs, and we'll do final thoughts.
If you're watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe, and then hit the bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. And we'd humbly request that you watch the video to the end, because it helps us with the algorithm and helps more film fans to discover the show. We're also monetized. If you want to get your chat questions definitely read on stream, you can always send us a super chat, which will help us keep the show going. Every cent helps. If you're watching on Twitch, you can gift us a free sub on Amazon Prime with your Prime membership, but getting subs on Twitch is always appreciated, and it helps to follow us on there as well. We also have an audio feed, which is available wherever you download podcasts, if you prefer to listen to podcasts rather than watch the stream. That's updated usually the same day we stream, but watching on YouTube and Twitch is the best way to get the show first, live as it happens. If you want to support us with a monthly donation and get access to all of our after parties forever, which go patron only after we do them, you can become a patron at patreon.com/movie night extra. Link is in the description for that. It really helps us keep the show going since we do have some expenses to make this happen. We also have a Discord community. Link is in the description for that. We sometimes watch movies we cover on there. We get into conversations about everything from film to TV shows to related podcasts. We even have a Discord channel for memes. It's really fun on there. You can find us on all the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, and Threads. You connect with us on all of those. Talk to us. We'd love to hear from you. Lastly, we recently made a TikTok at Movie Night Extra where we're putting up short form clips from the episodes. Okay, passing this to Conan so he can tell you about his music and this week's Protonic Reversal. Conan, who's on Protonic this week?
Yeah, we got the Biggin episode hitting the general feed. That's the entire band. That was a great time, and those guys are doing the record release show in Chicago on Saturday. So if you're interested in the band Biggin from Chicago, where McKenzie lives, and I shouldn't dox you like that. Sorry, but
I talked about it a lot. I said it earlier.
I didn't mention the street name or anything. Then you can listen to that episode. It's great. Coming up on Thursday is Marissa Paternoster from Screaming Females and Noun, a.k.a. Adam McKay's favorite guitar player, as we learned when we had him on the episode, which is a fascinating, interesting mind blow. There's a couple other episodes coming up as well. So very much Conan Neutron and Secret Friends stuff coming up. New record, Way of the Neutron, shows up for pre-order on Thursday. So you can get the first song starting then, and the pre-order the record. We have more stuff to announce, and it's like matter of hours now, but soon enough. I'm gonna give you this is a first look of the this is a record cover. Here.
Oh hell yeah, that's crazy.
So there you go. So that's what the record cover is gonna look like.
It looks like the one guy that wandered away from Burning Man and got lost.
Yeah, maybe. And there's a lot of announcements coming up. I'll be able to talk way more about it on the Oscar stream, especially when we have like at least an hour and a half where there's nothing going on other than red carpet stuff. But it's coming up very quickly.
Early because
there's a lot of just. I mean, it all like
7 this year, right, Conan? I think I heard it's
I think
7
so.
Eastern.
I think so. Yeah. So
I'll get
It's
ready.
not that early.
There's plenty to talk about. I'm going to be on Left Past 10 on Friday with the Letter Hack.
Yeah.
I'm going to be on a Crash Bang Boom podcast thing that comes out tomorrow.
Hey, Crash Bang Boom.
Crash Bang Boom. Oh, the Undetermined podcast. I think that's coming out next week. 1001 Album Complaints.
Oh, Crash Bang Boom. Is that the podcast with Vinny Boom Bots?
If you do this for every podcast I mentioned, we're never getting done with this show.
I did it with the one. I did it with one podcast. It was with Dr. Vinny Boom Bots.
And a couple other ones coming up. There's a whole bunch. I'm in a press cycle, so there's going to be like my plug. Sorry, my plug's going to be even longer than normal, but. Yeah, and then there's going to be first single Who Dares off of the record on Thursday. Then it's going to be Sharks Keep Moving. It's going to be A Villain of Circumstance after that. And then March 20th is going to be when the full stream's out. And Bandcamp first, and then out to the walled gardens that we don't see a cent from after that. And lots of tour dates coming up, and some of them are very exciting. And I know I've been saying that for a while. But yeah, big things coming. Big things coming, everyone.
The Prison, the press cycle pipeline.
Exactly. Caterwall has been full schedule. It has been announced, and single day tickets have gone on sale. So folks that are interested in that kind of noisy music, you can not just get 4-day passes, you can get single day passes as well. I think coming out to that again, right, Forrest? Right?
Yeah, man, we had this conversation. I said I'm
stalling for time so I can upload the image. Come on, bro. Jesus. God. See
well,
what
I'm like, getting out of play though. The thought of getting out of play kind of at this point, when like 80 of them have crashed in the last like month, is so nerve wracking. Like
I'm doing it in a week and a half, and I'm not psyched about it.
Yeah,
but, here's the full schedule. So we'll just keep that in Darling. So
see, I came through. I helped you find a new.
Yeah, exactly. Filibustered a little bit while I upload the image. Appreciate that.
I was gonna read Green Eggs and Ham, but I'm happy I didn't have that.
I love when Ted Cruz did that. He did not understand. It just went over his head. The whole point is trying something you don't like and liking it in the end.
I don't think Republicans. I don't think Republicans love that.
I was gonna say, I think that's a common occurrence. Anyway, I believe that's it. Again, there's so much stuff coming out. NeutronFriends.bandcamp.com for the band. And when we make the announcement on Thursday, if you're interested in that side of the house, yeah, please feel free to share all that kind of stuff. It helps people find out about it, which is always nice. Kristina, what do you got this week?
Nothing really. I'm just gonna be streaming. Me and Visora Official, a fellow streamer who's probably going to be on the podcast, and me, Forrest, Rayvon are going to do. We're going to do a little Twitch collab sometime next week. That should be fun. Two Jersey girls together at last.
Two Jersey girls would be a good name for a podcast, by the way.
Oh my god, that's so true.
That has to exist, right?
That has to. Yeah, if it doesn't, like, what the hell? What do you do?
Copyrighted.
They get into a fight and the podcast breaks up because one says Taylor ham and one says pork roll.
Do not get me started on that. I swear to God. It's pork roll. It's pork roll.
The podcast just breaks down.
See, you know. It's pork roll, okay? Don't even try to fight me.
It does, yeah. And they apparently talk all things New Jersey on that.
Yeah.
So
except for
the smell of sewers. The smell of sewers.
That's by the way, that's the least surprising thing than Planet of the Apes. It's like, what is this about? Okay.
Yeah. Wait, what is Planet of the Apes about?
Yeah, it's about man's inhumanity to man, really. But no, it's a
Two
Planet full of
Jersey
apes,
Girl
man.
is just a podcast where they annoy Kevin Smith into making a sequel to that movie.
Yeah. But also
movie.
last night in our Discord we watched oh boy.
Sorry, looks good on you.
Yeah.
No, it's a movie my grandpa and I used to watch.
Oh. But last night in Discord we watched The Apprentice, which was interesting and fun. Everyone was like, well, we want to watch this movie. I'm like, okay, I got it, let's go.
Was Jeremy Strong as great as everybody says? I haven't seen that one yet.
Roger Stone himself said Jeremy Strong did Roy Cohn perfectly, that he was actually so surprised. I'm like, well, Roger Stone says he's like, that's cool, he really did a good job. Everything, but yeah, Trump's
he's like yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Roger Stone, he's got a tattoo of Richard Nixon on his back.
But that was missing in the Trump. That was missing in the Apprentice movie. I'm like, where's the Richard Nixon tramp stamp at? But
it might have been after that. He got that. He might have gotten that later. He got that like 2000 something.
Yeesh. But
we got our top researchers on this. Okay,
gonna be streaming. Gonna be doing some Oscar stuff too, obviously, because it's crunch time. It's right around the corner, so I'm gonna be doing a lot of that. Obviously, apparently Anna Kasparian said Trump doesn't want to, cut Medicaid, but the House Republicans passed the budget to cut Medicaid.
I don't want to think about this.
I know, but I'm just saying stuff that I'm going to be covering this week, so it should be fun. But I'm more focused on like Oscar stuff.
Apparently, I'm not going to be covered if they cut Medicaid.
Yeah, and also someone asked where they could find my debate thing. I think one twitch.tv/enemy Charlie's all one word, one name, and I think you can find that there.
Oh shit, there's a free Divine G change.org petition.
Ooh.
I'm signing that.
Put that in the description.
Yeah.
Do it.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's all I got really going on.
Yeah, Friday 10 Eastern. I didn't mention what time it was. That I'm gonna be
one of the responses, Divine G is light. Oh yeah.
McKenzie, what do you got?
I mean, I really just do my podcasts, Austin Danger podcast and the Criterion Connection. On Austin Danger, we just covered Jackie Brown, which is a really fun episode, and we're going into our award show, the Austins, so that's going to be going up on Oscar Sunday. I have to do a lot of editing tomorrow to get ready for that, but we are recording that tomorrow, and excited to see what our audience voted for their favorite performances and films of the year. And then on the Criterion Connection, we just got done with a Jacques Demy, Agnes Varda double feature in honor of Valentine's Day with The Young Girls of Rochefort and One Sings, the Other Doesn't. And we are going into a David Lynch double feature of Blue Velvet and Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me in honor of the maestro himself. So yeah, lots of fun stuff going over on both pods. Yeah, if you like, kind of 90s, early aughts, monoculture comedy films, that's Austin Danger Podcast. If you like art house cinema and the Criterion Collection, that's
Danger is your middle name.
And I subscribe to both and have listened to both recently. And Kev's going to be on for Anatomy of a Fall, the last episode of a Justice Night Extravaganza. So we're going to start with Anatomy of a Murder. We're going to end with Anatomy of a Fall.
There you go.
Love anatomy in court.
We're going to have some angry men. We're going to be Legally Blonde. We're going to talk about our cousin Vinny.
Yeah.
Many of those are in Criterion collection, so at least Anatomy of a Murder and Fall are both in the collection.
Yeah.
You never believe what we found inside of the anatomy. Legally Blonde. All angry men were in
chain
there.
them all together. All right. You got a week to work.
Some cousin named Vinny.
Yeah. All right,
Your cousin Vinny was there at the party, and I didn't get invited.
With his red suit.
Yes. So that's next month on this show. Also, our Oscar live stream is going to be going on, and we're going to be revealing our results from the hosts and our featured guests of who will win and who they want to win.
Gotta update mine.
I guess at least you voted. There's some people that like. I still did.
Everybody.
Well, you know what, Conan? At least we care. You know why? Because we take this shit seriously, unlike you fucking Academy voters who didn't know, who don't know who won. Like,
right. F you,
anyway.
Academy voters.
What's the deal with Academy voters? You Seinfelded that up a little bit.
Yeah,
I know. It's
What's
just
the deal with the Academy voters?
I'm just so mad about the fact that these people are supposed to be more prestige than us, know more than us about film, and take this shit seriously, are not doing the thing that they're supposed to be doing.
Do you think though? I just assume they're people that work in the industry. Like, I don't assume celebrities.
Some of them. You can imagine care very deeply, and some of them are just like, I think I've heard of that. Sure,
but I don't imagine.
Like Andrew Garfield's gonna vote. He's part of the Academy. Like those people. Like every year they bring more people into the Academy, and I'm like, who the fuck is voting that's in the Academy that I don't know about?
He votes against Mondays.
So stupid. Mackenzie, would you please give us your final thoughts on Sing Sing so we get the hell out of whatever this is? Thank you.
Oh, I mean, it's a great movie. I love it a lot. I think it's a wonderful film about how art and art making is a freeing and beautiful and liberating thing that changes our minds. It creates empathy. It heals our souls. And in a cruel society, increasingly cruel society, it's needed more than ever. It's a wonderful and important movie with beautiful performances. I did want to say, this is again the kind of Shakespeare nerd in me, but if you like this movie and you are also interested in watching Shakespeare, I can't recommend enough. On Amazon Prime and on Marquee TV through Amazon Prime, you can watch a trilogy of Shakespeare plays done by the Donmar Warehouse, where it's all female casts performing Julius Caesar, Henry IV, and The Tempest. And the concept for those three plays is that they are all set in a women's prison. So, but like it's sort of like this. Like the concept is like the prisoners are performing these plays, so they have these external scenes where the prisoners get interrupted while they're performing Shakespeare, and it uses those plays to sort of extrapolate themes of violence and power and ultimately liberation through those three performances. And they are some of my favorite Shakespeare ever. And they have a lot in common with the themes of Sing Sing in terms of art as a healing thing, as well as just being incredibly performed Shakespeare. Helmed by Harriet Walter, who, if you watched, she's been in a million things, but if you watch Succession, she's the British mother on Succession.
You heard of that show, Forrest?
Which is incredible.
I think he has.
Secession alum Adrian Brody.
I don't know. Just want to recommend that if you're into more Shakespeare and into things about prison and prison abolition as it regards to art. But yeah, this is a wonderful movie. I love it so much.
I love when Shakespeare goes woke.
It's wonderful.
To pronoun or not to pronoun.
What a quote. What a quote. Yeah.
I love when people use those memes where it's like, this is how I feel about people who use pronouns. I'm like, do you realize how many pronouns you put in that meme making fun of people who use pronouns? Like, you just kicked yourself in the balls. Yeah.
It's enough.
It hit so fucking hard though, the trust the process thing. He was like, you said, you told us to trust the process. Well, the process is fucked. And I was like, hard feels right now. Like,
yeah, too real. Hashtag too real.
But Kristina, final thoughts.
As someone who wants to abolish prisons, I love this movie. It is one of those. It's sad that not enough people saw it, but hopefully more people will eventually and realize, holy shit, this movie deserved more flowers than it received. Thanks, A24. Colman Domingo gives the performance of his career. I mean, this is the fact that, again, this should have been like his Oppenheimer, this should have been like a movie like the magnum opus that could have put him on top, but maybe there's something bigger and better out there for him. But this is pretty damn close, in my opinion. The fact that they used real prisoners was, just phenomenal. The fact that they highlighted this program is great. Hopefully more and more, people understand that we need to rehabilitate these people. We need to find a creative outlet for them and and help them, reassimilate back into society. So I highly recommend this.
Fucking January 6th prisoners and they get podcasting equipment in the jail.
They were better off staying in prison than getting pardoned. Anyway,
it's mandated by law.
It does kind of blow my mind as someone that's been like, I've been reading a lot about like the French Revolution kind of history recently, like this year, like for the last year or whatever. Like I don't even know, like that's just something that I've been interested in. And like they understood prison abolition as a concept a lot, like it was a lot more, I think, ubiquitous in like French literature and like French, culture at that time than it is now. Like they're like, oh, prisons are bad, and it's like, I don't know. It's like a few centuries later, and we're like, maybe prisons are good. I mean, at least, well, who's gonna answer the call when you call the telemarketer people?
Rarely is the question asked.
Yeah. But Conan, final thoughts.
Yeah, like I said earlier, it almost single-handedly states the case for acting as an art form and why these practices actually matter and can save lives. Art has the ability to transform, and through the redemptive power of storytelling and the actual escape that brings, not like Shawshank Redemption escapes. Sorry, spoiler alert, Mackenzie.
But I do know that.
Okay, different kind of escape. I think it's just so full of hope and heart, it can be almost difficult to handle. A lot of times people talk about transformative journeys. This one actually is, and it's something very special. It's compassionate, it's dignified, and it also exposes why our incarceration state is as unjust as it is. And I think it all works very well as part of a larger tapestry and shows why this form still matters and why artistic expression matters. And it's not just one of the best pictures of the year, in my opinion, but of the last 10 years. And I think it's a moving and timeless work of art. And A24 fumbled the bag so hard that they should be put in prison, frankly.
Yeah.
There's like thinking about like one of the points there though, like there's an artistic integrity to it that's like, I don't know, like if someone's like, hey, write a movie about yourself, going through a hard time, like I don't think most people would be able to have the artistic integrity to be like, no, like I was a piece of shit for part of this, like, and like so maybe so were other people and maybe things were unfair, but like I was kind of a scumbag for some of this, or like, I freaked out and I shouldn't have. And like, there's no justification to it, right? Like he comes back and he's embarrassed. He's like, look, I don't have a justification, but things are hard and everyone welcomes him back in and like loves him because, but like, it's like there's just an honesty to it. And there's an honesty with the Clarence Maclin, performance and character too. And then it hits you like they wrote this stuff. I mean, at least some of it, right? That they wrote it about themselves. And it's like, there's an introspection there that's like playing yourself is probably really hard, but just writing yourself onto the page and not being like, and then everyone was kind of mean to me and that's why I did it, or like not justifying your behavior, or not feeling like you're soft selling yourself. Like in this, it's like, no, this is a tough thing to go through. Didn't handle it well for some of it. Tough thing to go through.
And that's one of the reasons why I think the narrative works so well to elevate the story in that way, because it does have that. And it's again, it's not something we're used to seeing. We're used to be fed slop.
And I guess having all your boys from prison, like they know what happened. So if you write like, oh, that was awesome.
Come on.
Like, all right, let's write the truth. But like, there's something like, I don't know, like just showing your meltdown, showing the things that led to a moment where you melted down, and things might have been unfair, but it's your behavior that made things worse too. Like it feels very honest, and it feels he could have just, because he's such a nice guy, he could have been like, and then I kept being a nice guy, and I'm a nice guy, and I'm gonna stay being a nice guy. Yeah. And he's like,
and I never did anything wrong.
I spiraled, like
yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to say that to the end. That was the thought that I had. But only me. I had that thought. And
you're the only one. Yes. McKenzie, thanks so much for coming on. It's so great to have you. It's been too long. Hope we'll have you on again soon.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, we got Oscar stream on coming up on Sunday. So tune in for that. We'll reveal the results of our. I mean, it's not the Stainies, but like it's it is legally binding.
We got a packed cover. See, we got quite a few people showing up, so that's fun.
Julia Linger's coming on. Lauren Chenard's coming on. Yeah, we're gonna have a.
I think Leslie Lee. I think Leslie Lee's coming on for hopefully. You know what I want to do? I want to get like. Well, I'm not gonna tell you now.
Okay.
I want to get a piece of red carpet, like just a small, like a tiny little,
small piece.
Like and then just put it under my feet, so I'm like walking the red carpet the entire time. I don't remember what movie it was. Someone put red carpet in their shoes. They're like, I'm always walking on the red carpet.
Oh yeah, who the fuck did that?
Or it might have been like 30 Rock or something like that. But
no, I think that's like an actual like thing that a real celebrity did. I gotta look that up now.
But
we'll get our top researchers on it and get it back to you on Sunday.
I am going to say free Divine G.